Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Nevada Unified District Board of Trustees meeting. We're going to call to order at 6:02 tonight, and I would like to ask all of you to please join me in allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. So our next item is 6. This is going to be announcements of our action out of closed session, and Vice President Butler will make those announcements.
All right. I'd be in closed session this evening on 5 items. The first one, expect every item of business to be discussed in closed session pursuant to Government Code 48918 for expulsion, student number 10000060970. On Tuesday, November 15th, 2022, the Nevada Unified School District Board of Trustees met to review the administrative hearing panel's recommendation on an expulsion of student number 10000060970. Based on the review of the panel's recommendation, Millerick made the motion to expel. The student will be held for the remainder of the semester plus 1 full for the following Ed Code violations: 489001, 489000A2, and 4800E. Trustee Gasson seconded the motion, and I will take a roll call vote. Trustee Millerick?
Aye.
Trustee Aguila?
Aye.
Trustee Jacobson?
Aye.
Trustee Gasson? Trustee Mack is absent this evening. I'm an aye. Trustee Butler's aye. President Nell?
Aye.
Thank you. The second was also considering of an expulsion on student 100006914. On Tuesday, November 15, 2022, the Nevada Unified School District Board of Trustees met in closed session. The administrative hearing panel's recommendation on an expulsion of student 100006914. On the review of the panel's recommendation, Trustee Gass to expel the student held to the Marin County Office of Education Community School for 1 year from the date of the board's decision, following Ed Code violations 489000A1, 489000A2, and 489000E. Trustee Aguila seconded the motion, and I have a roll call vote. Trustee Millerick?
Aye.
Trustee Aguila?
Aye.
Trustee Jacobson?
Aye.
Trustee Gasson?
Aye.
And Trustee Mack is absent. Trustee Butler is aye.
Aye.
Okay. Third item that we met in closed session with respect to every item of business to be discussed in closed session: public employees discipline, dismissal, release. That was information only to the board. The second item discussed in closed session pursuant to Government Code 4957 and 54957.6, conference with Legislator Barbara Varenkovich, attorney with Janice Walliver, Employees Organization, California State Employee Association, CS. That was information only. And the final item discussed in pursuant to Government Code 54957 and 54957.6, labor negotiator Barbara Varenkovich, attorney with Janice Walliver, Employees Organization, Nevada Federation of Teachers, otherwise T. That was information only as well.
All right, very good. Thank you, Trustee Butler. We're going to go ahead and move on to our approval of tonight's agenda, and I'm going to ask for a motion to rearrange one of the items, and that's item 13, which is a report on the San Marin High School lights in the public address system. The annual update that we have with the neighborhood group has asked if they could meet with us later in the meeting. So if we could move 13 below 14D. I need a motion, and then I need to conduct a vote to rearrange the agenda.
I so move.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Gila. So all those in favor of the amended agenda, and then student board trustees. So we have 6 in favor, 1 absent, and 2 advisory in the affirmative to reset the agenda. Appreciate that. Thank you. We're going to move on to approval of our consent agenda. Are there any on tonight's consent agenda that the trustees would like to discuss? All right, seeing none, I would entertain a motion to adopt tonight's consent agenda. So I have a first from trustee Milrick, seconded by trustee Jacobson, and I'm going to call the vote. So all those in favor of tonight's consent agenda being in its entirety, I have 6 in favor, 1 absent, and 2 affirmative advisory votes from our student board member trustees. So that concludes our business with tonight's consent agenda. And now it's time to move on. Announcements from the board and our student board members and superintendent. So we'll start with our student board members. You're first up at the end there, so if you want to go ahead and take over.
Oh, lovely. It's been a minute. Do you want me to? I can go back to like homecoming. It's been a minute.
It's your time, sir.
So yeah, homecoming was awesome. It was fantastic. We had 1,128 people. Cool. We had a food truck too. It was good vibes. The homecoming rally, it was indoors since my freshman year, so 3 years ago. It was such a hit. Homecoming court was really cool. Congratulations to Vanessa Livia Pina. And during our homecoming parade, we had much needed intervention with our senior class to build some more respect. But that was a whole thing. Jan knows. And then we had more water performances. We had one just like and then one a few weeks ago. They were both incredible, completely. Same with Hot Monk Tavern, sold out rock band show. So much fun. And we had movie night at Nevada High. It was not the greatest turnout. It wasn't like our first, but it was a lot of fun. Again, it was a cozy little like neighborhood vibe. And then we had big band dance in the CFA. All of the events in the CFA just blow up. They were so much fun. And also just this past CFA, we had MSA Theaters Into the Woods, which was great turnout every night. So much fun doing that. Yeah, having a lot of fun. We've got this coming up weekend is the weekend of Into the Woods. And then we've been doing our canned food drive with North Services. And it's going on until this Thursday. So we've already got like 400 total cans like donated. Which is looking really good. Thank you.
Thank you. Stephanie?
Hello. So Marin Oaks has been pretty busy these past couple weeks. But before I get into that, I would like to talk about this event, an event that's happening at Marin Oaks this Friday. We will be having our annual Thanksgiving where the whole school comes together and does a potluck for students and staff. And our teacher, Mr. Pac-Man, and his family will be donating turkeys and ham for us. And the colors at Marin Oaks will be making all the side dishes, and then there will be a competition. And I'm extending the invitation to all board members and district representatives that would like to join us. We would love to have you there. And again, it's this Friday at 20 at the Hill Education Center. And now going into some news, the Bridges program has been very busy at Marin Oaks. We had many guest speakers join us these last few weeks, including Friday, who is a member of the governor's cabinet, and the former of Novato. We also got a visit from Janie Milla, who is a local small business owner here in Novato, and she is a licensed esthetician, and she talked to us about her journey and a business owner, her story during COVID, her whole story, and like how she became what she is today. And then we also had a visit by Mike Willard, NUSD Senior Director for Campus, and he just talked to us about his journey and how he is in his position now, his journey with the Navy. And yeah. Last but certainly not least, we had Devin DeLucci from the U.S., and he just talked about how it is on a day-to-day when he's deployed, and just his whole story. He's actually the son of one of our campus supervisors. So it was really fun to finally meet. Been gone, I believe, for like 6 years. Don't quote me on that. I don't remember. But yeah, so his presentation was really nice, and we had a very good conversations. And this program also had a field trip to College of Marin, where we toured the campus, more about their programs and the program. And then Nova Independent Study also had a parent guardian conference this week. So yeah, that's it.
A lot going on there. Trustee Miller, any
Report this evening. Thank you.
Trustee Aguila?
Yes. I attended a sex trafficking event over at the Lodge District Attorney, and a film was shown. Excellent film. I can, if you're interested in that topic, it's a topic. It's happening. It's here in Marin, and so we just need to be aware of it and know the signs of what to do if our children are having certain behaviors. So that's one thing, and the other thing. Congratulations, Peak, with graduation. I also attended MCA an annual meeting, and they have a annual campaign where we're donations and this donations, anybody, the money goes to a program that is after school programs for not only but also for outside some of the schools in FL, and so it's throughout Marin. And so and speaking of the YMCA, they also have a Tuesday night on the 29th. We'll be here. There's an opportunity to do fundraising on your bikes, and you spin, and they'll also bring in some money to the schools. And the other thing I attended, there's a wonderful man, his name is Garlic, and he donated his, and I'll just read it here because this was written by Jan, and it was said that we are very grateful for this man who is a churchgoer. He went and he donated space and park facilities for the Nevada on the West Nevada Boulevard. So you guys are all familiar with that. There's still so many generous in the world. So, and they speak from the heart. And he's 93 years young, and he's a man who he purchased back the acres in 1965 as a very young man. So there was a red ribbon cutting event, and wanted to the San Marin High School jazz band for and playing wonderful music and setting the tone. So that was a great. He's got benches there that we can all, and our names can be put on the benches. It's kind of similar to with the idea over at the city hall. So same idea. And so I also wanted to thank Allison for helping and guiding and making this event wonderful. And I think that's it.
Thank you. Trustee Jacobson?
I participated in Modeling the Way. It's a great way for us to honor our staff that are going above and beyond, and there are so many of them. And this is the time of year that a lot of our sites are doing different types of giving opportunities. So maybe check in with your principals if that's not something you're aware of. But there's great matchups happening with families that need some things for Christmas or the holiday season, and families that are willing to donate. Thank you.
Okay. Trustee Gasson?
So I also enjoy participating in Modeling the Way. It is a lot of fun, and especially when the kids participate and Janet Ruby asks questions, it's a lot of fun. I attended North Marin TA meeting. Also, JLAC was last week. They're already discussing our state revenues are coming in lower than projected, so that's something to watch out for. I went and attended a San Marin High School drama production of This Is a Test, and it was entertaining and fun. I'm hoping to get to over to MSA for Into the Woods. I heard they actually added a Thursday show, I think is so. Is that what?
This Thursday at 5:30, if you wanted to come by the CFA, there's tickets at the door. Yeah, it's another show, but also like it's on Friday and Saturday. It's a show at 7 p.m. and then Sunday at 2 p.m. It's a really cool show.
Yeah, I'm super excited and hoping to get there. And just overall, I continue to visit. I'm particularly enjoying reading with first grade. That's been a lot of fun. So. Well, it works out really well because I forget my glasses and the words are big enough that I can actually see them.
So Trustee Mack will not be able to join us tonight. He has had a business obligation he couldn't make up. So, Trustee Butler.
I as well attended North Marin Council PTA meeting, which they had an opportunity to weigh in on our superintendent search. Diane and I didn't sit in on that, but we came in. They were one of the groups that were able to provide some input back to us on what they felt they wanted to see in a superintendent, the profile of a superintendent, and what are some of the good things happening in the district. So it was good to get their input. And then I also did see an effectiveness committee, otherwise known as E2, which is a county-wide committee, and then our JLAC, which is a county-wide legislative action committee, which President Nell has been serving on there forever, and that was his last, which we will miss very much. Your leadership, co-chairing that for a very long time, and all done at the state level to push what we need here in Marin. So thank you for that. Thank you. That's it for me.
A couple of things. Just want to remind everybody that School Fuel, our public education foundation, is having its campaign, so it's always good to support your public schools. Donating to School Fuel. We also, just going to let you guys know, I was sworn in a week ago on the District School Reorganization Committee as my second term, and we will be looking at reorganizing Reed School District and Sausalito are coming up on the agenda, so I'll keep you posted on that as we go. Trustee Butler mentioned the last JLAC meeting, and Trustee Gaslin as well, and learned at that time that the legislative office analysis said the state revenues were unfortunately coming in well expectations, and that school board should be careful about any long-term financial obligation until that information is better known. In addition to that, my chairmanship of JLAC, as I will no longer be trustee towards the end of December, but we did elect Gina to serve as the chair, and I think she'll do an excellent job. Former trustee for the Santa Fe City Schools. And I think that's my report, so I'll turn it over to the superintendent for announcements.
Good. I'm going to also plug Blaine is Into the Woods. And did you guys make all the props and the cow and all of that? Fabulous.
It's like a shared responsibility. It was MSA product design, the sculpture instructor actually made the cow and pitched in, and then Rodney is like making it's all parent volunteers, and it's all us.
Amazing. It was just if you haven't been, it's a must, just a must see. I loved every minute of it.
We have beat of just like moms who come in and just like seamstresses to just make costumes for like it's nuts.
It was excellent. San Marin football Friday night, 7:00. It's a second playoff game. Hope that people can come. I attended the Hall of Fame dinner last Saturday night, so I didn't get to see my own playing and making everyone's eardrums hurt. No, but I heard it was fabulous. Travis Brackett and Pitty were honored for their coaching, and 70 people there present for Craig. And his sister spoke on his behalf, and his parents were really lovely. Travis did a fabulous job. He was also honored for his ball and the state championship things that he did. So that was really wonderful. these out. These are the fuel new advertisements, and there's a little place that you can just click. Yep. And so that would be really terrific. They have several events coming up on November 24th at IVC. They have the turkey trot for anybody who wants to run. It's their 20th year birthday. And so it's an event that's going to happen on March 11th, and that's going to be at the Center. So we should be marking our calendars for that. Of Novato is coming May 13th, and it's kind of downtown so that we can have a real presence downtown. So I'm excited about all of those. So, and they're going to all walking part, so you can walk or you can do a lot of things. So that's it. Their new logo is right there. Yeah. Okay, that's it.
And you were also at the ribbon cutting.
Yes. Fabulous.
Nevada, yes.
That
and thank you,
man-
Leslie, for being there too.
Yeah, the individual that Maria just described, 93, he is spry and brilliant and positive, and to think that in 1965 he purchased this property and now he's doing a donation back to our community is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Generosity plus, and very spiritual person as well.
And he's got how many grandchildren
Like a lot.
and
There was
great
26
grandchildren?
or something. I just went, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind
So
of a lot.
I forgot to say that if you have any questions, if you wanted to donate, I'm the contact person, so you can reach out to me.
Great.
Or the district.
All right, thanks, everybody. That's going to conclude our announcements, and we're going to move on to the best part of our meeting. That's item 10, that's presentation, and Loma Verde Elementary School here, who will be presenting.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tanya Principal at Loma Verde Elementary, and at 409 students in our enrollment, I couldn't bring all of them, but I do have a lot of them here. I would like them to come up and join us. Mostly second grade, but we have a 1-2 combo, so our first and second grade class got to participate in this activity as well. Collins, Rafael Alves, Beth Kavanaugh, Brandon De Leon, come on up, Maritza Espindola Gonzalez, Lila Ward, who couldn't be here, Leanne Kumar, Nasa Teole, who couldn't be here, Sofia de Jesus Sabado, and then I have two amazing teachers with us. Our teachers, Elizabeth Vega, combo teacher Lisa, and not here is our second grade teacher, Brianna, and our educator who's been amazing this year. She just this year, Kelly Flores, and has been really jumping, taking initiative. The activity that our teachers are going to share are their culture. It's really all driven by data and our equity goal. With truth, we saw a really low response from our the question, does your teacher ask you about your life at home? And so we had a conversation about how do we frame those questions so that it doesn't seem intrusive, but also for our students to share about who they are, what they're like, what their families are like. And so this idea for our second grade teachers came, and I'll let them share a little bit more. Up here. Gotta use the mic.
Good evening. We started in our school, and we asked all of our families, where do you come from, and where were your original peoples from, and what is your heritage? So based on that, we came up with some data, and in the second grade, our first rotations were Mexico and Guatemala and Brazil, because in our second grade class, those were most represented by our family. So we were able to, each one of our classrooms took that country, and we rotated our students through. And so they're going to show you documents, so they have passports and stamps, and they write about what they learn from each country, and they do a craft or some kind activity. We've had parent participation come in, and so we're just going to go from. Anything you wanted to add? Yeah. So our data expert Martin took our information from our classrooms, and he has information from our individual class. So we have a pie we're going to show you in the video that represents our class. And so we took, I think that we have like probably 3 more rotations. We've done 2 so far. So we've gone to 6 different countries, and they have stamps from those countries. And based on that, and we're going to be going to, I think, maybe 6 more. So it'll be all year. Yeah, all year long we'll be going. And so we have a lot of families that are wanting to come in and share their culture and their family traditions with us.
Do you want me to share the brief?
Yeah.
They got to travel. We made a briefcase. It's all sorts of fun. So they all have a briefcase. Inside the briefcase, they've got a section for their pass. And then they've got boarding passes, and then their world maps so they can reference where we're traveling to. And then in their passport, they've got their picture. Fun stuff.
Oh, travel now. Don't lose it.
Yeah, no,
Can't get
don't
back
lose
in the
that.
country.
They get a sticker for the country they visited, and then the following day they reflect, take notes, share out. So they have notes for Mexico, Guatemala, Spain, Brazil, Miwok Nation, and then we covered Michoacan too. So that's the briefcase. And just a quick note about the flyer, the handout that you just received. That's Loma Verde. That's who's represented at Loma Verde. Those are our families that returned the survey, and we're hoping to kind of keep bringing our families in to share and celebrate and be in community together. In video that hopefully I can find here. No? Alfie, there we go. I should be able.
classrooms to learn about people's cultures, traditions by visiting countries. We use passports and get stamps to remember the places we have been to. Like in Guatemala, I learned that they have a bird on the flag and that's the national bird. In Brazil, they have the Amazon rainforest and they have
Brandon, fix it. I don't want to send any. You're going to be here.
In second grade, we travel to different classrooms to learn about people's cultures, traditions by visiting. The flag and that's the national bird. In Brazil, they have the Amazon rainforest and they have a lot of venomous snakes. I can't wait to visit more places.
I learned about the Amazon rainforest.
rainforest. And the fun fact is the rainforest, well, the Amazon rainforest holds up in a few different countries, but it is mostly found in Brazil. I learned the traditional foods of Brazil are cheese bread. But it is mostly found in Brazil. I learned the traditional foods of Brazil are cheese bread and chocolate with caramel. I tried, it's like a little cheese ball. And with bread, melted cheese, it's so good. I loved it. It's from Brazil. In Brazil, they speak Portuguese, French, and Spanish. That kids in Mexico get presents on January 6th instead of Christmas. I learned that people in Mexico, they celebrate the Day of the Dead. They eat bread on the Day of the Dead because they eat bread on the Day of the Dead. Because it's a tradition.
I learned that in Mexico, they make skeletons to represent their lives for the Day of the Dead. It feels great to learn about others. I got to try a churro and it was good. My classmates learned that Días de la Muerte is a day to honor people who have passed away. My parents remember my tia and my tío and my great-great-grandparents. I am so happy that my class learned about it too.
I learned in Guatemala they have a bird and it's called the quetzal, but it's becoming extinct, which is very sad. But Mexico has a flag with a bird on it. People in Mexico speak Spanish just like my parents. The different traditions in different countries people in Mexico speak Spanish just like my parents. The different traditions in different countries were cool to learn about. There were also many things that are the same, like Spanish and birds on flags. It's awesome to teach my class about my family's language and traditions.
I like learning about others' cultures and what they do for tradition, what they speak, and their food that they eat. I tried new food and learned about friends.
Thinking. My dad's mom is from Mexico, and I want to go to Mexico in the future. And
I'm happy we got to travel in school because we don't have to pay money.
How does it feel to bring a part of your culture to school, and are you looking forward to it, to sharing about your culture?
it feels great if to share my culture at school, and I'm looking forward to it a lot.
Sorry about that.
No, it's not so much a question, but a comment that, when I went to Loma Verde myself back in the 80s, there would have only been one country here, Mexico. And so now to see this and just see how everybody else is, like, everybody's getting to know each other, what a great concept, what a great idea, and it's a win-win for everybody. So thank you for teaching kindness and how to get along. Thank you.
The whole thing. And I mean, there's just so many aspects of it. So thank you for being so creative and for the yummy treats as well. It was just all really great.
Yeah,
so
thank you. Thank you. Do we get seconds?
Sure. I want to thank Roberta, one of our fabulous moms, for the cheese balls and the chocolate treats that I usually, she brings them to school all the time, and then I just have staff room a lot during that time. And then also our paraeducator, Kelly Flores, who made the churros at home and then brought them here.
Thank you guys for sharing all this with.
There's food over here, and there's a line in.
They want the churros.
All right. Okay. So a big thank you to the Verde community for bringing us snacks and a great video, and have fun travels. And we look forward to seeing you guys soon. Unfortunately, the board has to go on and conduct some more business. Feel free to stay if you'd like, but we're gonna go on to our next agenda item. be a non-agenda public comment period of our meetings. When we take comments from the public on issues that have not been agendized tonight. And so because they're not on the agenda, the board comment or respond directly to these speakers. I'll listen and each speaker is allotted 3 minutes, and we have several. If you guys are ready, to begin with David Hernandez. There's going to be our first, followed by Mariah. So, Mr. Hernandez, ready? Welcome. We got a little bit of an overlap as we kids on their way out, but we're going to go ahead and proceed. So, Mr. Hernandez, you are up for your non-agendized public comment.
Okay. Well, I had a dental appointment this afternoon. I have vision of a Bill Cosby skit, so I hope I'll be okay. At the October 25 board meeting, the district field maintenance group gave an update on the TK athletic fields and play fields. They noted this topic arose due to the conditions of the upper field at Sinaloa. They outlined a plan to support fields at all district schools. The maintenance group said that work overseen by the district was underway at Sinaloa to repair the leak, and water would be turned on the following day at 1:40 so that field work could begin. The group said they were working on the problem and progress was being made to repair the field, which had been virtually destroyed due to neglect. However, the water was on October 26th. It appears the water may have been turned on sometime last week, but there is no appearance of any work on the field. What was done in the past 3 weeks by the school district? These weeks are crucial to have fields ready for spring baseball, including Nevada's freshman and JV teams, by the way. I believe it is reasonable to expect a follow-up to the board's direction to the field group that night that included providing a more detailed inventory of the fields, creation of a fields task force, the creation of agreements with youth organizations, and clarity of the acceptable rating for the state of the fields. I avoided using the quote marks there. Does an individual board member oversee the field maintenance group? Or can regular updates to field repairs be added to future agendas? With respect to the ratings out for the fields, as a grandparent, I ask each of the board members to take their families out to San Jose Lower Field and other schools with acceptable fields and play some tag games. Have some catch or hit grounders or fly balls to the kids and see if you believe the fields are acceptable. Maybe invite field maintenance families. If we're going to get our fields repaired so kids can play without concerns, we need a clear path forward with cooperation from the district, the city, and the youth groups. Accountability is used too much these days, but I think it is fair to ask who is accountable for the current field conditions. I know securing school campuses is the priority, as it should be, but something has to be done about our fields. They used to be the best in the county. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mariah Fisher, and then that will be Tanya Kay.
Good evening, trustees, superintendent. My name is Mariah Fisher, and I'm the president of Novato Federation of Teachers. Every day I see the impact of our staffing crisis here in Novato. We are multiple times a day to step up and sub. We are worried about the mental health of our students, our colleagues, and ourselves. We have teachers taking on more students, more classes, more preps, more committees, more forms, more communication tools, more meetings, already so much more. The community has heard you publicly confirm your commitment to salary increases. I have heard many of you agree that we need to fix our non-competitive salary schedule so Novato becomes an attractive and affordable place to work. When teachers get paid more all around us, it is no wonder we are sitting here in November still not fully staffed with admin and subs filling classrooms every day. My son is tired of sitting in the cafeteria during class. Unfortunately, your salary increase has come with conditions. Do more or be more available to get more. And that has not been communicated in the public, like your commitment to a salary increase in general. A salary increase is not an increase tied to productivity. The much needed, long overdue, and significant salary increase we are in need of is actually tied to cost of living. It is tied to the idea that health care has gone up over 20%, and yet the district has not contributed a penny more than they did a couple of years ago. It is tied to the fact that the country sets a cost of living adjustment every year that we haven't matched as long as I've been in this position. It is tied to the fact that we are losing our teachers at a rapid pace to a district 5 miles south that pays $15,000 to $20,000 more a year and is going to get worse. Do you know how many teachers plan to retire in the next 2 years? I have never heard teachers, we were just talking about another one, I have never heard teachers talking about leaving like I'm hearing them right now. I'm getting calls from teachers asking me what happens if they quit mid-year. I'm having discussions with teachers who tell me that if we do not get a significant raise, they have to apply elsewhere. I have had discussions with teachers who are considering a leave of absence because they just can't handle the stress of the job. I'm talking to teachers who are at a breaking point. The proposal presented by NUSD in our negotiations meeting has made it clear that you hope to have teachers carry the burden of the staffing crisis. You have presented proposals that make increasing class size an affordable option. You recognize that finding teachers is going to be a challenge, and so you are expecting us to do more to help solve the problem. That will not solve the problem, it will only put it on our backs. The solution is to pay your educators a competitive salary so people want to work here. With so many educators living in Marin and with so many educators living in Sonoma and commuting to Marin, let's catch them on their way to our county. Who would want to drive all the way to southern Marin when they can pull off the freeway in Novato instead? You are planning on paying the new superintendent a competitive salary, expected to be one of, if not the, highest paid superintendent in the county. How can you justify that and not justify doing the same for the people in the classrooms and on the school sites? We need a salary increase with no strings attached. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next is Tonya Kay, followed by Tim Block.
Hello, my name is Tonya Kay. Thank you for listening to me tonight. I am new to the area, but I have taught in 4 different states, and now my child is in kindergarten at Loma Verde. I just learned that they do not have a night custodian, so that means that the responsibility is falling on teachers as another job to do, because their classroom is not getting cleaned on a regular basis. So that means teachers are asked to clean their classrooms, vacuum, mop, wipe down surfaces on whatever their schedule can be, which is a busy one as well. It's also sometimes put on our students to then wipe down classrooms, desks, things like that. And I don't know about you, but I know my kindergartner, as much as she tried the best at cleaning. And so it's also not part of, I would like her responsibility to be of cleaning her own classroom. I would like her to be getting an education. And as it's being it's put on teachers to do this, then they are also not given supplies to clean their own classroom. So vacuum or wipes or anything like that. So then they're asking parents to then donate basic cleaning supplies to clean their own classroom, which again, I don't think falls on parents or teachers to supply basic needs for a classroom. Sorry, I didn't have this all written out like everybody else. In today's world with COVID, I looked back on the district's website last year on the COVID protection or prevention plan and the school site specific safety plan that was updated. Page 4, number 5, it had talked about sanitizing and cleaning of the classrooms on a daily basis. Custodial staff will dismantle high-touch areas, hallways in the classroom on a nightly basis and as needed. Right now, this is not getting done, and we're not far away from COVID in the sense of we also have flu, RSV. In my child's classroom, it's already an outbreak of hand, foot, mouth. So it's not just COVID, it's just basic hygiene of cleaning our classrooms and making sure that. I understand that it may be a budget issue. I know that there is a job for a custodian on EdJoin, but this was back in September. Again, I'm sure it's a budget and a concern of trying to get people to do the job, but maybe we need to find other ways to do it. I am trying to be part of the solution. I am getting a group of parents to come in and clean classrooms before Thanksgiving, trying to help out. But again, I don't think this is part of my responsibility or my child's or the teacher. And if you want the teachers to add on another job to them, then it should be put in their job description to clean their own classrooms.
All right.
And then someone else do it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tim Block. And then Kendra Pollock will be after Tim Block.
Ready? All good? All right, so I want to thank you all for being behind that desk because you have to make a lot of hard choices all the way across. And those hard choices are going to be more in the future because you're going to burn a bunch of that money and put it in different places. Superintendent's going to come in front of you and say, hey, this is what I want to do with it, and you get to decide whether you support the superintendent in that role. Where's that money going to go? Who are you going to support? Which program is going to be important to you? And there's going to be a lot of hard choices for you in the super near future. We can't get teachers. Right now, I'm working a 1.2. That's 6 periods a day. It's hard to get a prep for that. Not all, most of the science teachers at San Marin are doing that. Most of the science teachers at Novato are doing that. Most of the math teachers are a 1.2 or 1.4. We're supporting the district right now, and it's super difficult. It's super stressful. Just like Mariah said, I did a report from the years I've been here. This is my 16th year of the district. I taught 7 years down in Los Angeles. Since I've been here, I have lost 25% of my earning capability, which means if I look at all the interest or the raises I've gotten in 15 years and compare it to inflation in the Bay Area, I am 25% behind. 25%. That's crazy. So that's what we're being offered. We're getting a cost of living increase. We're not. We're getting some money being offered to us with a bunch of extra work attached to it. There's no money being offered to us for cost of living to try to come after that 25%. It's not there. What's there is, here is some percentage and crazy amounts of extra work to go with it because the district can't hire teachers to meet the need of our students. Isn't that one of our primary goals? Why are we here? Number one reason, support our kids. We're not doing it. You guys aren't doing it, and I'm having a really hard time doing it. Who's going to make it better? It's up to you. Super tough. I've got kids on medical leave. I'm supporting off my roster. I've got kids doing all kinds of stuff. COVID, you name it. They're doing wackadoodle stuff all over the place, and I'm trying to support them. And it's not just me. It's a bunch of teachers, and they're stressed. And they're not making very much money for it, and they're looking for a way out. So next year, it's going to be a game changer. This fall, you're going to have a lot of teachers running away, and you're not going to be able to replace them. And you're not going to have enough teachers to do 1.4s to put people in the classroom. And all the Band-Aids of making class sizes stuff aren't going to make a difference. I hope you guys make great decisions, and I want to support you in that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so next is Kendra Pollock, followed by Melissa Havel.
God, I'm so short. Okay. Hi, my name is Kendra Pollock. I'm a 2006 MSA Novato High grad and one of the district school psychologists at Pleasant Valley and San Ramon. I also oversee our very successful and surprisingly competitive school psych intern program, and I'm here today in support of the NFT proposal. To be a school psychologist is in many ways to be misunderstood or forgotten about, like how the district didn't even include us in their proposed SPED stipend. Most people don't have a great sense of what we do, which makes sense. The title school psychologist seems to imply that you're doing a lot of counseling. We do that, but we also do a tremendous amount of neuropsych assessments to determine special education eligibility. Not to mention, we're the ones who drop everything to show up when there is a crisis in the district, and that's just a small portion of what we do. Our psych pay scale is so uncompetitive that the first 5 steps of our pay scale are the lowest of any district in 20 square miles. We don't get competitive in any direction to 20. And in case you're surprised, that's why we're constantly understaffed with psychs and have been for years. For reference, I took a $10K pay cut to come here 4 years ago from Vallejo. And if I'd taken a position in Petaluma or Santa Rosa, I'd be making between 25 and 35K more right now. The cost of being understaffed with psychologists or other specialists like speech language pathologists and occupational therapists or nurses is really steep. You end up spending a massive amount of money on contractors who are usually way lower quality than our district direct hires. We've had to let the last 2 to 3 that I know of go mid-year. Or you end up having to pay for virtual providers and then people to carry their little heads around on laptops. Or you spend money in legal fees, independent assessments, non-public school tuition, settlements, compensatory services. Keeping our pay scale uncompetitive is frankly a really, really terrible way to save money. We're a strong, close-knit psych team, and one of the psych teams that is so rare that it doesn't feel lonely to do your job in this district. We have interns who want to continue to work with us after they graduate, and 2 from last year who stayed on after they graduate, and more who are already asking about our program for next year. We have the people. In a national school psych shortage, we don't have a shortage of school psychologists who want to work with us. And I cannot explain to you how rare that is. But we're not going to get to keep any of them because they could make 20 to 35K more starting in most other school districts. So basically, we're going to spend an entire year training these incredible young psychologists and then handing them off to another district to benefit because that district understands the value of good psychologists and we don't. We have a team that's growing into something really, really great, and it will crumble away if the district doesn't support us. And all of our students are going to be worse off for it. So my ask of the board tonight is really simple, is please understand what we do. Please understand why we're important, and please don't forget about us. Thank you.
All right, thank you. The next speaker is Melissa Havel, and then after Melissa will be Dane Kokora. Dave. Sorry, Dave.
All right. Hello, my name is Melissa Havel, and I'm a science teacher at San Marin High School. I've been a teacher for 13 years, 11 in the Nevada Unified School District. I teach STEM ecology and AP environmental science. I created the STEM ecology course 3 years ago to bring a project-based ecology to sophomore STEM engineering students. I also brought AP environmental science to our school. It was taught before in the district, and it's been very popular. This year, I have 125 students in and last year, my students passed the AP test at a 74% pass rate, much higher than the state average of 55%. I'm teaching a 1.2 this year, so I have 186 students total that I instruct in the class. I mention this because teaching in the classroom is just one part of my job. I also advise 4 student clubs. In high school, students come up with a club they want to run, but then they need a teacher advisor in order to have a place to hold meetings or to supervise off-campus events. I advise the California Youth Climate Leaders, the Recycled Closet, which is a closed recycling club, the Beach Cleanup Club, which now is affiliated with Surf Riders, and also the speech and debate team. 2 weekends ago, I spent all day Saturday with the debate students, meeting at San Marin at 6:30 a.m. to drive them to their tournament in Danville, worked in the tournament, and then drove them back home, arriving in Novato at 5. I will do this several more times during the school year in order to give these students an opportunity to participate in debate. Teachers are also asked to write letters of recommendation for college. Since I teach an AP course, I tend to get asked to write a lot of letters. I've written 15 letters this year, all of that time unpaid. I usually write letters on the weekends and have spent 2 Saturdays in October completing these letters. I'm not unique in my activities outside of the classroom. I question the other science teachers are in our department. We are a group of 10 teachers and oversee 15 clubs, including robotics and Interact. We have written 85 letters this year alone. 5 of our teachers are teaching a 1.2 or 1.4. The leadership teacher and head of the ELD department are both science teachers. 2 of the 3 teachers that run Link Crew are science teachers, and we also have a cross-country and JV girls lacrosse coach in our numbers. This is just one department at our school. Teachers are going above and beyond all of the time. When a teacher leaves the school for a better salary, you're not just losing that person in the classroom. You're losing that person that helps out with clubs, who writes letters, who helps shape the future of our students. I've watched many teachers leave to work in San Rafael over the past couple of years. My current salary in Novato is $83,000. A teacher with my experience in San Rafael would be making $118,000, a $35,000 pay difference, or 42% more. I want to stay at San Marin until I'm ready to retire. I love it, but I need to feel my work is valued. If you want to be able to hire and retain teachers, you need to pay them a wage that is much closer to what nearby schools make. It is a 20-minute drive to San Rafael, and lately I've been wondering if it might be time to look at other schools. If I leave Novato, it would be 100% due to the low pay. Thank you.
Okay, so next speaker is Dave Kirkora, and then Ross Ingalls.
Hi there, everyone. I'm Dave Krakor, and if you don't know me, I've been teaching at San Marin for, this will be my 28th year. So I've seen a lot, and we have a crisis. Our wages have not kept up. They never have, and we've always been promised, wait for next year, wait for the next contract negotiation, maybe we'll get more money, and so forth. Well, the money is there now. The state is giving 13.26% to our budget on a continuing basis. And then you want to come back with a 10% increase. That 13.26 should be added on to the 5 or 7% that we may have been receiving otherwise, getting up to nearly 20%. That 13.26% continuing should not be contingent upon us having to, or your proposed 10%, should not be contingent upon us having to spend another 15% of our time at school with this 1 through 7 idea. That's another 15% of time. So you're offering 10% more pay with 15% more time. That doesn't make a lot of sense. As you've heard, many teachers are working 1.2 and 1.4, trying to cover for the district's short teachers. Yet they're not being fairly compensated. So they're getting that. That's going to not be the case next year. Case in point, if a teacher teaches a 0.8, they subtracted, what is subtracted from their salary is the 20% from going from a 1.0, subtracted from their salary, it's subtracted from their health benefits, it's subtracted from their retirement, it's subtracted across the board on every form of compensation. A 1.2% teacher, 1.2 teacher is only given that 20% in salary, not in any other form of compensation. So that's not fair and just compensation. And you guys did a great job. You must have worked your fannies off trying to get teachers to come to this district, because I kept looking at the shortage of teachers, and it was, we're lacking 3 teachers here, we're lacking 4 teachers here, and so on and so forth, right, with science and math, and it was a scramble. We had to hire teachers that are not credentialed, okay? We had to hire them. Now, I'm not going to say that they're not great teachers. I know them. They are good teachers. But it's really putting an onus on those teachers who should be developing their craft with a master teacher for that year, instead of being thrown into the fire with over-numbered classes and all this type of stress and so forth, and they're not being trained properly, and it's stressing everybody out, and there's going to be challenges. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Next speaker is Ross Ingalls. Good to see you, Ross. And after that will be Donald McCarthy.
So good evening, board. It's been a while since I've come and spoken, but I still watch almost all the meetings, and I appreciate that they're on YouTube for all of us that can watch them on our own time. About 3 weeks ago, there was a gang stabbing over on Linwood. 3 students, 1 student ended up in the hospital in critical condition. 3 other Sinaloa students ended up getting arrested for attempted murder. Following that, the San Marin Novato football game, you guys banned fans from attending the game. The reason given for banning fans was that there had been this gang incident. Called in cops from other jurisdictions. There was a bunch of cops at the game. The senior day between Novato and San Marin, no fans except for family members could go. So you limited good kids' freedoms because bad kids behaved badly. So following that, I went back and watched some of the old meetings that when you guys were debating the school resource officers, and I pulled up some of the quotes and some of the things that you guys all had said. So while I read some of these quotes to you, kind of think back to those meetings and see if you feel now the same way that you felt then. We'll start, Diane. How do we make it so it's not inherently fearful to have police on campus? Ross, and you had a bunch of really good ones. I just pulled out some of the highlights. I don't think putting police on campus without structure is inherently a good thing to do. Ross, again, should we have police on campus creating a uniform presence? I don't like that. I think the answer is no. Julie, when we have our most vulnerable students saying that I can't learn in this environment with an officer carrying a gun, we have to do something about that. We can't let those students fall behind. And then Derek, we need to be honest with ourselves about our need for police. And then Trustee Mack, who's not here unfortunately, he talked a lot about rules of engagement. He brought up at every meeting that police should have rules of engagement, assuming, I guess, that they don't have rules. Julie, and this was in an angry tone after you guys all voted on the to form the committee for school resource officers. You said, we'll be watching that committee, don't you worry. Fast forward to January 11th, Derek again, I think the fear of police is a real thing. It's unacceptable to have any student suffering anxiety. And then Greg talked more about rules of engagement. So you guys talked about rules of engagement. You talked about the fear of and anxiety of having police on campus, but what you never talked about was the fear that some kids are feeling or the fear that teachers are feeling for having gangs on campus, or what you're doing about that. If you spent just a fraction of the amount of time, you spent nearly 6 hours in those meetings debating whether or not you should have a member of this community, a Novato police on your campuses for the safety and well-being of the kids, but you spent zero amount of time talking about whether or not it's safe to have gangs or what you're doing about gangs on the campuses. You guys have kids on these campuses. Do you ask them? Do you ask them what's going on in the classroom? Do you ask their teachers if they feel safe? It's something that you guys all should talk about and show a little more respect to the police officers in this community. Thank you.
Our last speaker is Donald McCarthy.
Just to start off, I want to thank all the teachers for everything you do for our students, my children especially. Thank you all. I really honestly mean that. To my heart, I really honestly mean what you all do for my kids. I truly do. Julie, nice to see you. I coached with Julie for softball, so real quick, I'm just going to make this short and sweet. Sinaloa is a disaster. I've almost saw 4 or 5 kids get run over on bicycles in the last couple of days, to the point where they almost killed one of my kids' friends on a bicycle because parents are not doing the right thing when they're stuck in traffic and everything. It's absolutely a disaster. And the bullying that goes on in the bathrooms and the smoking weed and the smoking cigarettes at the school is a disaster. San Ramon is a great place. That's where we came from. That's where our kids went to. I was very thankful for Amanda Langford. She's amazing. I don't know the principal at Sinaloa, but I'm telling you right now, Sinaloa needs to be dealt with. If it's not, then you will find out civilly when another kid gets run over and gets sent to the hospital, because that's happened twice, and just this year alone. So it needs to be dealt with. To Ross's point, you guys worry about gang stabbings that don't happen during school hours, and then we're forgetting about the gang rape that happened. We're forgetting about the murders that happened through Novato High School and all the other stuff. This is a safe community, but it's also not until we actually engage with the parents and the people. And sorry, you guys asked to be on this board. You guys wanted to do this, so you need to actually take action. It's not on me. I'm a parent that's paying taxes. You all asked for these positions, so do your job. That's as best the way I can put it. Take care of our teachers, take care of our kids. That's the job you asked for, so do it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So that concludes our non-agendized public comment. So we're going to proceed with our next item, which is item 12. This is a discussion action. This is to review and approve board policy and administrative regulation in the 3000 business series, and this is a first reading. And Lois Standing, our Chief Financial Officer, will present.
Oh, I'm not supposed to, right? Is that working? I'll stand over here. I'm not going to touch. Hello, nice to see you. So this is the long-awaited policy, security, mostly cameras. That's the focus policy as we get into our installation and planning for cameras, surveillance cameras sites. We were very good at Mountain View Wisman Unified School District they created class policy. It followed a lot of what we saw as the most important is to include in a policy. I would say that there are districts that had such a robust policy. Most of the others were very CSBA's was fairly simple and get into the depth for the cameras. So what you see is what we are proposing. There were a couple of questions that I want to go over those with the whole group. One was about audio, and it is illegal to anyone basically without getting their permission. If they have the expectation that they won't be overheard or recorded, you cannot record them. So surveillance we don't have a way of getting permission for everyone who walks by a camera. So the audio policies say turn off the audio. So that's where that comes from. The question was about non-working. Sometimes there's the thought that you put install the working cameras in key places, but then you also install non-working. And the thought process of why that is not is actually kind of the opposite, expectation not to be recorded. Some people, if they see a camera, have an expectation that it is visually. And there have been case law, victims got into a place where they were being assaulted and they thought they were being recorded. And when they went to get the footage, oh, sorry, that camera's not real. So it's a problem for us if we intentionally put up cameras that do not set up to record. So that's why our policy has that piece in it. Is there anything else that anyone came up with through it?
Let's find out. So we have Trustee Gasson and then Trustee Butler.
Thank you. I got your email right before I got here.
Right,
so
I sent it late.
And sharing it with the rest of the board. So the policy, and I appreciate and I'm glad that we're moving forward with this piece. So the reference to the and you kind of said it, the MVWSD.
That's just a typo,
right,
because
so
of Mountain View Wisman. We'll change that.
Correct. So that was edited through here. And then the other thing was the second component. I actually have here the physical security assessment that we're expecting. Is that going to be coming soon?
I will be sending a Friday update, and I'll explain in the update why it's not coming to a board meeting.
Okay. Thank you. But thank you for doing this. Going.
You're welcome.
Yep. I think I have my answer because I think it was the number of days that the recording is saved. And it looks like on the AR, it says, the regulation says 30 days. Is that what I'm reading? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Can we make that longer if we wanted to?
The system, well, here's what, and this is a piece we have to work out. The system using terminates things at 30 days. But we have the option of saving everything up in the cloud. So there's a question if that's what we want to do. I'm not, that's a good thing.
No, I agree. I was just thinking maybe a little bit more, to 60 days. Just
We can ask let me investigate that and find out if they're going to change. We were just told that the company saves 30 days.
Okay, I think that was it because you answered the audio one that I had as well. And then we do an annual notice. Is that correct to notify? We're already doing an annual notice.
But I will make sure that we are because we're required to.
Is that in here as well? So we need to be doing that. Okay, thank you.
I was thinking
So we're going to go back to Trustee Gasson to follow up, and then Trustee Millerick.
I was just wondering if the documents that we sign at the start of the school year.
It could
if
be
it's
that
rolled
that
into
would make sense, is that is where it is.
Yeah.
Trustee Millerick?
So my understanding in terms of for the cameras that we had, the vendor that had been proposed to us, that the time of the amount of data it would save was a function of, and if you pay more, you got cameras that stored more. I think it's an adjustable parameter.
Okay.
And I don't know if you can upgrade the camera after the fact, so we ought to just ask the vendor.
Okay.
So they store locally, so they're not loading the data down all the time while the kids are using the network. They're just downloading when you ask for the data, and for all that data you never want to use, it just disappears.
There's a lot of that.
Yeah, and well, but you might want to see later. You might want to see some activity at 2 a.m. And the question is, how far back do we want to look? We should have a policy that says at least, but not longer. There's some issues for why you wouldn't want to say. So we probably need some legal advice on what the right number is. But I like 60 days. I think right now we're at the system we had. We were down anything for 15 days, but
I think it was 15.
Stuff got cheaper, cameras got better, the stuff and in terms of the actual placement of the camera, for the high schools, it's very similar to what we current coverage is, maybe more at the periphery, at the edges of campus where we've coverage, so we can do a better job of, I think we got, there was an auto accident at San Marin and Nevada Boulevard in the police, and we happened to have videotape of the license plates on the hit and run, and we were able to solve that problem. But we don't share them regularly. There are data. We don't share them with police. We specifically authorize. Is that a correct statement? Who owns this data, and how do we protect it so not every...
We limit who has access to it.
Yes.
And then rules about who can ask for it. Law enforcement is one of those parties that can.
But they don't get it. They have to ask.
Yes.
I mean, if they have
access to the system on their own.
That's the word I was looking for.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
No.
So people aren't down looking to see what's going on Thursday. At the quad in San Marin, if there's a need, then the data is made available.
And one of the interesting things with this policy is it's allowed that you just sit and watch the screens. I think that's been a practice in the past, but not something that our employees will be able to do anymore.
So there's two things that came out of that. Is there was a break-in at Nancy Pelosi's house. The camera was recording it, but nobody was watching it. They didn't have the tools to notice activity up on the balcony when nobody should have been on the balcony. So artificial intelligence tools can help you miss that important event. And the other is people browsing around, watching kids' purposes in general. You want it for specific purposes.
Yes, this is very different than a private residence.
Right. So I'm glad the advice of the Mountain View District and the much more policy, because I think this industry is just growing up as to how this works. I think what we knew 20 years ago is small compared to what we know now in terms of privacy and serving both purposes.
Right.
So thank you so much for the work on this. I look forward
You're welcome.
So when do we think, this is off topic if you don't have an answer, when do we think we'll be in terms of the high school, and when do we think our schedule will be elementary?
So we believe cameras at the high school will start to be, as long as we have the equipment, which has been ordered, first of the year, beginning. January to March, somewhere in there, done.
Calendar year, not school year.
Correct.
Yeah,
and hopefully done by the end of this school year at the two high schools. And then I don't know that we have a date for installation. It depends on just so many pieces, but we'll be assigned to you around the same time in the spring for the middle schools that you'll approve. And once that's approved, we can cameras and continue on with the.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President.
So just to summarize for confidentiality, we keep confidentiality, and NUSD is the owner of this data, and we can only divulge this data if asked for it. Is that right?
Yes, we are going to limit who has access.
Great.
Looking at the images.
Trustee Gasson.
Just two quick things. I thought one of the features of the software or the cameras was that if there was an incident or something going on, the police department could have access. So I think maybe that was my understanding when they station that was one of the benefits.
That with our permission, but we're not going to allow them to have with access. They'll have to come to us.
Right, but I think they thought it was they could log in and look and see what's going on if there anything that was happening. So that
that may be a possibility, but that's the policy reads.
That's why I'm asking.
I mean, it's certainly an option of the cameras, but is that something we do as a district? I think that's the question.
My understanding was one of the safety features is that things happening at one of our sites, the police department would have, it sounded like it was an interface that they would be able to access and be able to see. I understand that that's our giving permit. I think that that's a benefit, and not that they're watching everything all the time, but if there's an incident, that part of the benefit of this was that they would be able to access that. And then just briefly, there was a comment statement as part of the policy about an anonymous screen system, and I just didn't know if we've even considered that. I know that sometimes stuff happens on our campus, and I know, if there's a way to report it, like if a kid doing something and didn't want to be caught up in, this kid told on me or something, if we've thought a step further and going into figuring out how we can.
They had stop it in the past.
Right. It's for bullying and for each of the sites, but like a more, you're going by a school and you see something happening, something for the community. I'm just wondering about some of the vandalism and stuff that's gone on. If there was a way to anonymously report, if that might be a benefit.
Outside of,
Again, that's not anonymous. And I looked up, the police department actually has a pretty good tool where you can go in and report different and things like that. But again, it's not anonymous.
You can call the police anonymously.
Well, I went if you could report, and it actually says that you need to have your name. But anyway. Okay, well, I did look for that, but that's so thank you.
Okay, so this is a meeting, so we're getting it out to the public. I hope that our community as well as our staff will take a minute or two to review it and to come up with any suggestions or concerns that they may have. Essentially, our goal was to set up a system that obviously we want to increase security. Security cameras act as a deterrent, and they're good for after the fact when it comes to holding people accountable. But at the same time, we don't want to have video public forwarded on TikTok or any other social media venue. We don't want staff or anyone to have access to it that doesn't have the appropriate reason to be reviewing. And I think it's good policy. It's a good outline. It's a good start. But if there's others that have concerns or comments, they should bring those forward. And I think it's important to point out that this is not set up to be an observation system so that we can watch you all the time. It's basically a video recording that we can go and see what happened, not watch what is happening. So I think that's important at this point. So we will put it out there, and I'm not sure if you're scheduled.
We have not talked about the second reading. I think I'll see what I have. What I have gotten from this conversation is looking into the increase to 60 days, making sure the annual notice will affect the policy, seeing if the police having the police investigate the benefit of maybe having the police have access, and checking in, as Millerick said, with the cameras to see what the pluses would be. Can we pay more to get more? If that's where the 60 days fits in. Was there something else?
Do police not already have So, like, as of now, did police not have access to, like, going back to look at video from the
Yes, they
cameras?
do. They come and they ask us and we get them access. Yes.
Okay. All right.
They can't just do it on their own. They have to come and ask us.
Okay. I don't know, like, if it was just my experience then, but I had, like no, but I had my bike was stolen, like, at school, and I never, he never got back to me about finding, like, the footage about it. I didn't know if that's, like, whether or not he could access it, like, the officer that came to, like, talk to me about it at school. So thanks for clarifying.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay, so Trustee Gila, did you have a follow-up question?
Just was gonna make a motion.
Well, this is a staff report.
Oh, it's a report. Yep.
Well, actually, no, it is. It's a first reading, so we want to basically have a motion to accept the recommendation, which is to accept the first and the comments given. So, and move to a second reading. So, I have a first from Trustee Aguila and a second from Trustee Butler. And you guys are done with your comments on the issues. Then I'll go ahead and call a question to go ahead and move it to a second reading. All those in favor? 6 in favor, 2 advisory in favor, and 1 absent. So thank you.
Thank you.
Next is B, and this is to approval of the San Jose Middle School dual immersion expansion and development of a DI comprehensive plan. Am I reading that? What the? Sorry, you guys, I'm losing it.
President, I was wondering if on these presentations, are they going to be bringing food?
I appreciate that. So,
okay.
So I stand corrected. Oh,
It's here. So,
Oh.
go back to,
we could.
yeah, I think we really should. The other people.
Okay, so we're going to get back on track, you guys. Appreciate your patience. Day. Okay, so next is B.
A.
It's 14A. It's approval of the single plan student achievement in Hamilton
Ready to
School,
come
Loma Verde, Lou Sutton Elementary, who have been patiently waiting to that. So let's get on track.
Good evening, everyone. This is the second installment of our SIPSAs, and tonight we'll be hearing from our K-8 school and our 6 elementary schools, our 5. I wanted to quickly tell you from last time that the reason we're here tonight is because we and apply for and receive for federal funding through the consolidated application. Consolidated application says if you apply for the money and you receive it, you need to write a plan. So that's the compliance piece, and that's a single plan for student achievement. And also is required that you need stakeholder input. Our principals are going to be focusing on, as they did last time, on intervention. So based on assessment data from 21 and 22, they will be discussing what they are doing that's tailored especially for their school. And our first school is Hamilton School, which is TK8, and the principal is Stephanie Coe. Oh, and then what we'll do is if you have questions, we'll do it immediately afterwards, each presentation, so they don't have to keep on popping up. Okay. Are we making that big or doing it from here? You're doing it from making it presentation mode. Can we get Ellen out of bed?
There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening, trustees, Dr. Derby. I'm Stephanie Coe. I'm the principal over at Hamilton. That's a name change. Used to be Stephanie Parnell. Okay, so tailoring all of our interventions based on our 21-22 data. We have been very fortunate in hiring back Marion Hickman, who's been a longtime member of the district and recently retired a couple of years ago. And so she serves, as you can see up there, 30 of our neediest young learners and young readers. She works in small groups. The students get to see her 3 times a week for small group instruction. They work on their letters, their sounds, phonics, and phonemic awareness. She uses the program Foundations and then her over 50 years of teaching experience to serve our students. As you have heard from Hamilton before, we are very fortunate to have RISE Scholars, our foundation at Hamilton, and they provide many academic interventions for us, and 2 of them are there, RISE in Reading and RISE in Math. RISE in Reading, we have trained volunteers that come and provide one-to-one tutoring for 24 of our neediest students in sight words, phonics, and reading, and they focus on our 2nd and 3rd graders. The program that they use came out of Oakland Unified, what they were using and created for their intervention program. It's called Succeeding by Reading. We've noticed as we've used it over the couple of years that some tweaks and alternatives have been needed to be made to make it more catered to our students' needs. But the basis is within Succeeding by Reading. Rise in Math is new for us this year. It's an added program that focuses on our 3rd and 4th graders, and they are serving 43 students, and that's a 1-to-2 model, and they use a program called iExcel, which RISE Scholars brought to Summerhawks this past summer and saw tremendous growth in students' math scores. So now they're bringing it to our Rise in Math program. Kids take a diagnostic at the beginning, and it gives them 5 strands, scores for 5 strands, and then the tutors focus on the lowest strand to help support them in their growth towards succeeding and achieving in math. Now, don't think just because it's a computerized program that they just sit them on a computer and a person is not doing. The tutor sits right there next to them. They go through the problems together. They use manipulatives. They have their whiteboards and their scratch paper, their flashcards, and they're really learning with another partner, an adult, to help them. Moving into what I got there next. Moving into middle school. So we have math intervention for all 6th through 8th. Brian McCoy does what he calls his Math Ninjas program in the morning for his 6th graders, and that happens 5 days a week for 45 minutes. He actually uses a program that he created. It's called Teacher's Dungeon. And from his vast knowledge and experience, he has taken the essential standards that NUSD has for math in grades 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and has incorporated them into his game with reteaching lessons and also helps student with mastery of their essential standards in all of the grades. And so he does that in his before school intervention class. Melissa Newcomb, my 7th and 8th grade math teacher, after school intervention 2 times a week for an hour. She supports our algebra students and other struggling learners. And then Mr. Marsden is our 2nd grade teacher. He does what he calls Opportunity Club, and it's focused on reading, phonics, and reading fluency. He district adopted program Imagine Literacy, and he pulls small and really focuses and has great results in getting students up to grade level when it comes to reading. This is all in addition to, I'm very fortunate, still receiving the MCF grant to be able to have instructional aids in my lower grades. And so teacher send students to their instructional aids to get targeted one-on-one instruction. And then the way we monitor it is through Go, ESGI, and in-class assessments. Was that fast enough, Susan? I tried. I really tried. Did I not put it up there? Oh, Rise in Reading right now is 24. Yes. And I actually have numbers for all of the different programs. I don't know if I said them if you wanted them.
Well, I have 30, 24, and 40 for the first three.
And Brian McCoy's Math Ninja, 20. Melissa Newcombs is 15. And Todd Marsden's Before School is 25.
All right, real-time information there. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next presentation unless we have something pertinent or you didn't want to get clarified. Then we will go to the next school. If we're going in order or not, but I guess it'd be Loma
Our
Verde.
next school is Loma
It's up to you.
Verde,
Yeah, Loma
with
Verde.
Tanya Chima as principal.
Hi, everyone. Me again. Tanya Chima, the principal at Loma Verde. I'm nervous to touch this, so.
No treats. What's the deal?
The tree, well, sorry.
Out on the churros, I
I'm
think
still
that's.
full and wiping the sugar off. I love that the kids to the audience to make sure everyone has. It was awesome. So I'm here. Wonderful work happening at Loma Verde. I appreciate this opportunity to share a little bit of what goes on at our school. Just want to say that it's a great collaborative staff, and we are able to partner with a passionate and generous community of parents and givers. I think something that's clear to all of us, especially when we go into our day the past year, is the pandemic affected people differently. It affected our students differently. And we're really targeting our data because it's clear that our data indicates that we need to address math instruction and the acquisition of for our students across the board, but then really target and make sure that we are meeting the needs and addressing the needs of our people and creative and amazing students who are English language learners, and our Hispanic students who have gifts and abilities, and we need to do a better job of making sure that we're helping them access instruction. So this year we've implemented something called Bear Den. It is thankfully and wonderfully run and managed by Elizabeth Vega, who you met this evening, who's one of our second grade teachers. It is targeting fourth and fifth grade students for after school intervention and enrichment, really giving them a place to be after school. A lot of our students were going home and not really having engaged opportunities. The intervention and enrichment is done by teachers. We've used data to make sure that we're inviting the students that really need the support. They stay on Tuesdays and Thursdays till 5 o'clock. We are looking for outside providers and partners to provide some of the enrichment opportunities for our students. And then part of that group before school targeting our second and third graders with math foundations and ELA. And for all of this, we're using Galileo benchmarks, obviously using our CASP data, but using those benchmarks to monitor more frequently. And then we're also using student surveys with our fourth and fifth grade students to really get their voice and what do they want to be learning, what do they need help in, what do they need support in, and how do they see themselves as part of our school community. In addition, we are continuing our work with our reading specialists. We have Kylie Morris, who's a full-time reading specialist, and then we also bring back teachers who retire and like, oh, are you bored? Do you want to come back? So we have Jan Schultz, our wonderful teacher who supports our kindergartners and third graders, and Kathy Coford, who's working mostly with first graders and second graders. For our reading intervention that's targeting third through fifth grade, we are using the LLI curriculum that partners well with the FNP and Lucy Calkins units of reading. Really targeting the reteaching of explicit phonics for our younger students, making sure that sight words are implemented in their comprehension, writing piece, all of those components. We are really working on tracking data when students in third grade or fourth grade or fifth grade are reading 3 or 4 grade levels behind where they need to be. It's hard to monitor their progress when you're just doing running records. And so connecting that with ESGI, which is an assessment tool that we use for our younger readers and learners, and connecting that with our third, fourth, and fifth graders who are making progress, but it's at a level that we're not able to capture with our FNP levels. And so giving them that, like, you are succeeding, you are growing, you're just not seeing it move in your letter that you're reading at, and connecting our reading specialists with ESGI, that's our goal. We're hoping that we can get her on ESGI as well. And combining all of the elements of literacy: phonics, high frequency words, vocabulary, reading, written responses. And this year, we are fortunate to have a math intervention specialist as well, Michael Stuns, who we borrowed from Rancho, took from Rancho, stole from Rancho. Borrowed is the wrong word. We're not giving him back. He is working with our third through fifth grade students. The data that he's using is Galileo and also CASP data. He's created and worked with Tom Martin, our data specialist, to create pre and post benchmark assessments. We're giving them to the students that he's pulling out and pushing in and working with, but also giving them to the rest of the cohorts so that we have comparative data as well. We're utilizing a pull-in, push-out, pull-out, push-in model. I was like, that doesn't sound right. Because we also want to make sure that students are getting support within the classroom when they're receiving the instruction. We have a universal access model where there's 45 minutes designated for each grade level, where there's no new curriculum taught. So that's where we do all of our pullouts, or try to maximize that time for our pullouts. He's using math expressions and doing extensive data tracking to make sure that our groups are fluid. So just because you started out in September with Mr. Stuns does not necessarily mean that you'll be with Mr. Stuns come December, because we want to make sure that, you know, students are making progress and getting the help they need when they need it, and then, you know, graduating out. And then if they need it again, maybe in February, that they're getting pulled into those small groups. So those are a quick and brief explanation or glimpse into the intervention we're offering, and we're really making sure that we're targeting our English language learners and Hispanic students who are great and gifted and wonderful, and we want to help them succeed in our schools. Thank you.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
2 things. Generally, one, I hear us say sometimes, I wish we spent this much time talking about curriculum instead of facilities. So I would like all of these amazing principals to know that we do not need to rush through this information. It's really important, and I appreciate that you guys have put so much time into it. And then also, generally, I'd like to say that there was a lot of talk about phonetic reading assistance in these plans, and I appreciate that, and I think that that focus is going to help us. I love that you mentioned bringing back Watchdogs. I think that's a great program. It was like just a little nugget hidden in there, and I love that program, so thank you for adding that. It's Dads of Great Students, and it's when dads on campus for like a day or a portion of the day and just go around to classrooms and...
Yeah, it could be dads, it could be uncles, it could be, you know, any male father figure. We have a board in our office that has, you know, the of the past and their students. My son goes by that every day and goes, when's Daddy going to get on there? And his kindergarten year was the pandemic year, so I'm like, okay, this is get Daddy up on the board. So we're excited to have that back.
Thanks. So we'll go ahead and move on to the next site.
All right, next up is Mira from Lou Sutton. Take all my things back.
All right, good evening. I'm Mira Patel. I'm the principal at Lou Sutton. Let me get to the right here. And I'm really excited Hearing my colleagues speak about the different interventions we have in elementary school. I'm excited to speak on behalf of Lou Sutton. And we are really fortunate we have the 4 intervention positions. So we have a reading interventionist, a math interventionist, social emotional learning expert, and an English language development interventionist. And so through those 4 amazing interventionists, we also have 3 paraprofessionals, working with them in conjunction. And one of the things that we really are working hard to that's reflected in our site plan is making data the central focus of everything we're doing. So all of our staff meetings have shifted to making data the conversation. And through that, in the 2021-2022 school year, we decided to really focus on 6-week data cycle plans. And so that is really explicitly every 6 weeks we are taking an assessment, whatever it is, Galileo, it could be CASP, LPAC, any of the assessment tools that we have, going over that data, finding where students kind of fell through the gaps, and then specifying what instructional tools we're doing for them. So in 2021-2022, we specifically made the data cycles based on our English learners and how we were going to support them within our classrooms alone. By the end of last year or beginning of this year, when we reviewed LPAC scores, we noticed that we were able to the amount of students who redesignated compared to the year prior. And that was huge and a huge celebration. So what we learned from that is that process of going through the direct cycles, we needed to grow it and figure out how we could expand and make the best use of our intervention team. So that this year and what grew into what you're reading in front of you today. And so there's 4 ways that the data cycle lead to the interventions that are going on campus. We have every 6 weeks meetings. That's where the teacher sits with the intervention team, every single student, talking about their progress, what's coming up for those students, and determine what interventions and supports they need. They continue to do their small group instruction daily in ELA and math in the classrooms, and data cycles continue to be the focus of who's coming into those small groups. Universal access, as you've heard my colleagues talk about, every day we're doing that for 30 minutes. It's where every student's getting what they need. And that, again, those interventionists that are supporting those students are doing that through data cycles. And then growing this also into the before and after school interventions. So students who maybe through any of these other 3 items aren't getting what they need, they can get that double dose of before and after school intervention supports. So really, we are trying to make, as Ms. Chima said, we're trying to make data a more fluid, intervention a more fluid process by making data the conversation, that kids aren't stuck, and we're going to keep moving them through. Thank you.
Guys good? All right.
And I'll welcome Lori Nuno from Olive.
Good evening, NUSD trustees and Derby. My name is Lori Nuno, and I am the principal at Olive Elementary School. So our focus is data and also intervention, but we also saw a huge need for social emotional development. Last year was very tough on our students. We saw a lot of pop up that were not popping up in previous years. So we also really wanted to focus on social emotional growth in our students. So our data specialist actually does 2 different jobs. She has a student support para that she works with also, and that student support para actually pushes into the classrooms to support students in the classrooms while she's giving the lessons weekly to the students based on their need. So it could be conflict, it could be anxiety, it can be speaking out in public. So she looks at what their need is, and then she does lessons on them, and then the support person goes into that lesson is being done in the classroom. Our data specialists also, at the very beginning of the year, we start out with targets. So we meet with every single teacher for a full day. 30 minutes and we go over every single student and the supports that they received the prior year. We look at their data year and then we look at what the supports were given and look at do they need to continue the supports and how can we track that data for the current year. Then we go into our data cycles. So we have 8-week data cycles. All of our teachers meet with our data specialist, intervention specialist, math intervention specialist, and our ELD teacher or and then they pick a essential learning standard that they want every student to know. Then they get pre-assessment. Students are then grouped up into different groups. They look at what's the learning target, what interventions need to happen inside of the classrooms, and then on that essential learning and what the target learning is for that group of students. The reading intervention specialist or the math intervention specialist will push in this room to make sure, during UA time, to make sure data cycle work is being done along with group with the classroom teacher. I just lost my place. And then we have our ELD specialist who comes to us 2.5 days a week, and she works with students in small groups on language acquisition to make sure that we can reclassify our students prior to on to middle school. And so that's our goal, is to make sure all of our students are classified before going to middle school. We also have and first grade instructional assistants, and they support the teacher in small groups and one-to-one, doing a lot of the phonemic awareness phonics support. And then the teacher also does his or her small group. Our reading intervention math intervention teacher not only does the push-in during UA time, but they also do small group and one weekly. Our reading and specialist goes strictly through our SST process. So you cannot see the intervention specialist unless you've actually gone through our student study team, which is a group of teachers and the parents and our specialists that meet weekly on through a cycle. That is a goal, setting goals for the students, or not they make their goals. The students in our reading intervention with our reading interventionists use a phonemic awareness and phonics called SIPS, and then our math intervention. Most of all of the students that see her were students that were targeted through our target meeting, our SSTs, and then she works with them on computation and basics. We have a coordinator, and she coordinates and monitors all of our reading and math intervention programs for identified students, and then she orders all of our curriculum programs and then looks at our categorical budget to make sure we are spending our money appropriately. So thank you. Does Tony from PV?
You guys have any questions before we? Okay, good.
Hey, good evening, trustees and Dr. Derby. I am here on behalf of Pleasant Valley. Ross, I didn't bring snacks, but if you want to go to dinner later, you're welcome to. Happy to speak about intervention at Pleasant Valley. One of the things I think makes our intervention really strong at Pleasant Valley is, like Tanya mentioned, I think that is one of the strengths of NUSD is the collaborative effort of our teachers and our staff. And on top of that collaborative effort, our teachers do a job of really getting to know their students and building relationships and taking that piece and melding it with our core focus, which is data, to help identify those students and provide them the help that they need. So we base our groups off of academic achievement data, which includes Galileo, CAS, GI, and teacher-created assessments that align with our essential standards. Each year, we saw the effects of. With that, our interventions proved to be really effective as our CAS ELA went from a 68% to 76%, and a 60 to a 71%. A lot of areas of growth there, and I'm so blessed to have a team of fabulous intervention teachers. Alyssa Mathers, who is our TOSA for math intervention. Heather Sargent is our ELD coordinator, as well as our ELA specialist, along with Bronwyn Holt, who is our reading specialist as well. And our 3 interventionists work together with the general education teachers, meeting regularly by those students, and we cycle them fluidly every 6 to 8 weeks. These students work with these specialists during our universal access time, which is time every day. TK through 2, 30 minutes a day, and 3rd through 5th receives 45 minutes a day. Same time, we are simultaneously doing data cycles, which occur every 6 weeks with the support of our data specialists. These goals are based off of central standards and our students' learning maps, and are reevaluated every 6 to 8 weeks as well. And then for our behavior interventions, we use the data from our DESA, which Mira talked about, and office referrals, as well as teacher observation, where that relationship piece really comes into play. So students will be referred to this data, and we'll work with our data specialist, who is using our second step program. And we also have a fabulous registered behavior tech, Gigi Mayer, who has started to pull groups as well, working with students on different personal skills, including friendship, public speaking, just forming connections. And then we are also have a BSCR counselor who supports students 3 days a week. For our English learners, they see our EL coordinator, Heather Sargent, every day. And she works with them on their English language development and ELA standards. She works with them using the Fontes Pinnell program, Sonde, GLAD, and our teaching strategies. And our goal for the upcoming and winter is developing an after-school that'll support teachers in their intervention and students' goals towards their learning. So we're looking towards a 6 to 8 week target with 2 sessions, one in January, one in April. And up next is Rancho. Okay, thank you.
Okay, this is a marathon girl. What can I say?
Good evening, everyone. This is late for me. I'm usually in bed. I'm Catherine, presenting Rancho tonight, and I just start by giving a huge shout out to our staff and our teachers, because what I'm tonight, I'm standing up here, but this is our whole community. And it is really coming together. So looking at what we're trying to differentiate and individualize our learning for our students, some of the similar things that the other schools have. So I don't repeat everything that they've said, but I do here our universal access time, 45 minutes, grade level gets 45 minutes a day. Oh, sorry. How's that? I could just talk about PV. Our universal access time, you can't see. So I can either read here or I can read there. I love getting old. So 45 minutes a day, single grade level has this, and it is, we have these supports. So the teachers work together at the whole grade level to discuss who needs to get what support. So they're not looking at their own students, but more globally. And we have interventionist Ava Gavorjak, we have a math TOSA, we have a wellness coordinator, we have our speech language happens during that time as well, and along with this, so this really is intertwined in 6-week data cycles, because the way that we do decide on who gets what and who is by looking at all of that data. And I have to say, so exciting. We're in our 3rd cycle right now. So we just finished And the way we're working at this year is that every time we have a data cycle through another one, we have substitutes, roving substitutes, so the teachers and then work with the data TOSA as a grade level, and they put up their data, and I happen to be in there, and the students, you see where the beginning of the cycle is, and then they do the assessment at the end. It's just amazing to see them move across that continuum. So it's those little spurts of growth that we're really measuring, because what happens is at CASP and even Galileo, we have students who are below meeting standards, and then they take the test the next year and they're below. But if you look at those interim steps, you see growth, and that's what we really have to make sure that we're looking at and measuring at little steps along the way. One of the things we're trying this year, our second grade, what we did, because we were our EL scores as well, and we know we have 4 levels of English learners, one being just arrived and newcomers, to 4 being close to classified. And so what we did was we took all of our levels and put them into one single class. But that teacher, when she's doing small group work with her EL students, it's not EL students from level 1, 2, 3, 4. She has a rated group of students that have similar needs. And so then the students, the level 3s and 4s, are with the other teachers. When they're doing their EL work, they get targeted instruction that's really focused on that level of learner. So that's something we're trying this second grade. And then the other thing that we're starting the Tuesday right after Thanksgiving break, we have 13 students who are brand new newcomers this year or in the middle of last year. So for 30 minutes a day before school, 4 times, they will be meeting at school just to learn about what it's like to be in school here, to build community with their families, to get extra language development together. And that's being led by one of our teachers, Debbie Robles. We have 2 other support helpers, Maricel Nita and Shilpa Vilkor. It's really exciting that we're starting. So basically our goal is through these interventions to be able to monitor progress throughout the year, just at CAS, but really throughout the year. Reflect on our practices, make changes as necessary, and then monitor that student growth and watch that progress. Thank you very much. Are we good?
Yeah. I think it's super cool to kind of like touch on like with the newcomer thing or with the friendship thing at Pleasant Valley. I think that's just such like a cool thing to touch on, especially for like, you know, as well as like the academic intervention. Like there's totally like a social aspect to this. I really like that some of you guys are touching on that. Also, running a marathon is ridiculous.
Thanks. Oh, Ross.
Yeah, Kat, are you running a marathon, Kat?
I did weekend, or like 10 days ago.
Okay,
Yeah.
we should talk.
Yeah.
I don't run marathons just in case I had the body type for running marathons. But I do have a question on the presentation. There's people use level alike training as like something where you're accommodating the needs of the student. But I've also heard words like tracking, that same idea, and kind of twist it in a completely different way.
This
Could
is
you
not
clarify?
tracking because
Could you clarify?
Yes, is heterogeneous, but within just the EL students, so level 1s are in there. And that does not mean that academically there might be a discrepancy. It means that they have needs that you're working together with that group of students, and there are like 5 of them. So you're making little mini groups within, and they're interspersed with, is integrated throughout the class. So it's not tracking that way. It's very intentional, small group work with rooms.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for the clarification. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you. So, I'm really, yeah, go ahead.
Just a comment. Thank you for the work that you put into this. I know it's kind of, I always say this, it always checking a box. It's a form you have to fill out. But the amount of information in these plans is so valuable to us and to this community. I mean, just what you spoke on tonight about the interventions, I mean, that's just amazing, all the work that you're do, all the teachers and all your staff that is putting into each and every student to provide the right education and to get them moving forward, because this pandemic has wreaked havoc with us so much, and the students are coming back behind in a way. We're kind of starting from scratch. I feel like I'm listening to a presentation on these plans from like when you were here before. I feel like I'm having deja vu again. Because I feel like we're just starting all over with our students, but we're going to get there. And you all are doing very similar things across. Every time I read each one, and I kind of kept track of what was going on. And the culture of caring that's at each school is amazing. We're doing more so than ever because of the social emotional need of our students. Thank you for that. I'm just impressed, and I hope that that message gets across to your whole, your community, and sharing this information to your parents. School tours that you're going to be doing is important too. I think new parents excuse me, coming in need to know that the scaffolding that is important for each and every student. So make that important message to them.
All right. Any more comments or questions? Trustee Miller? Sure.
I'm going to follow up on Trustee Butler's comments. COVID and this whole country, this whole world has been impacted. We see students behind in academic topics that we can easily measure, but we also see social, emotional issues, conflict levels that are just hard to, and they're frustrating from the classroom to the boardroom. They're to the any civic leader, international civic leaders are dealing with conflict that they, I'm sure, didn't 5 years ago. It seems to me, when listening to you, that the way we get this mess is in the classroom, that we have to dig our way out one handful at a time, and it starts with group of likes, not tracking likes, finding ways that we can help one child in one room how to get past the frustration that they might be facing at home and think of school as a safe place. That's where you go for safety, and that's where you go to improve your circumstances. And I just got through hearing a whole bunch say that in specific sort of clerical detail. But what you said is, this is how our kids are going to get out of this box that we put ourselves in. And I'm just thrilled to be sitting in the same room you guys are. It's a pretty amazing thing, and I'm excited. So thank you.
Okay, good. So are you guys ready to move on to the next item?
No,
Or-
we have to accept.
Wait, are we,
I was good.
Okay, sorry.
So-
President?
Okay, Trustee
Just,
Aguirre.
one quick thing. I just wanted to say something for regarding Hamilton. May I go back to Hamilton? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure.
Thank you. Just, the fact that reading and writing, and well, this is nationwide. It's, we're pretty low in the scores. But with Hamilton, reading and writing is 62% of second and third graders are low in the math. It's also 70% third grade is pretty low. It's wonderful when programs, organizations come in and they help out. In this case is RISE. And with the two intervention programs that they have given Hamilton, where they've helped and provided resources for our students, and especially for these two, math and reading. And just want to say that this has helped the students really engage, inspire, and empower. And this is what it's when other programs come in and help, and we get to help them, and it's just a win-win for everybody. And I just wanted to thank Rice, and they're giving the students confidence and confidence in learning, especially topics that are very difficult to learn. Do this, by doing individual work one-on-one. And I went to visit Hamilton, and I was able to speak with them, with me, all the good that they've done. And so we've thanked them enough for stepping and helping Hamilton. But it is no wonder that schools rules gave them also for this year for all they've done. And when I was also in Hamilton, I don't know, we really talked about it, but I got to visit the chess classroom, and this was Abel Talamantes, and he's the director of the chess club over at Hamilton. And wow, the energy and the care and the time that he has shown his classrooms is amazing. His room is super organized, super he probably plays chess with the desks, and you just come in and walk in and it's just like perfect. And he's humble because, and this is the kind of directors that we need. You turn around and it's a classroom. It's not his classroom. It's the student's classroom, and he's got pictures of his on the wall, and then the humble part about it is that trophies. And so when you put that dedication to your classroom and your students, and then money comes in, again, it's just like a win-win. And so gotten trophies from Cal Chess and state championships. And so, again, just wanted to thank, this week our superintendent sent us an email out just giving shout outs to a lot of our principals, all the hard work that they've done this week, all the meetings, all the brainstormings that has happened. And so I know sometimes we don't pay you guys enough. But yet, we want you to know that we're thankful. So that's it.
All right, so can I have a motion to accept the
I'll
recommendation?
move the superintendent and the staff recommendation approval of the 2022-2023 for student achievement for Hamilton, Loma Verde, Lou Sutton, Olive, Pleasant Valley, and Rancho. I think I got them all. Did I miss anybody? School.
Got them all. Okay.
I second.
By Trustee Aguila. So all those in favor of single site plans?
With appreciation.
All those in favor? 2 advisory in favor and 1 absent. So thank you, everybody, for being here and giving us your site plans.
I just would like to let you know that the next, on December 6th, you'll see the 3 schools, Novato High, San Ramon, and Linwood. Thank you.
Appreciate letting us know that. Thank you. Okay, now it's time for item 14B. That is the approval of the San Jose Middle School dually expansion and development of a DI comprehensive plan. So we'll have you introduce yourself and take it away.
Trustees and Superintendent Derby, I'm the District English Learner Program Coordinator, and I've never been before you before, so I'm happy to be here. And I'm here to seek approval of the extension of dual immersion to a San Middle School model and develop a strategic for trustee approval by January 2023. So a little background, the Linwood Dual Immersion Program began in 2018 school year, starting TK, K, and first grade. Those first graders are now in 9th grade and getting ready to matriculate up to middle and to the middle school model, which is I'm sorry, I lost my place. Let me start over again. Okay, so this 5th grade is ready to matriculate to the middle school model recommended for San Jose Middle School. And so the Linwood and San Jose team like to engage in the development of a comprehensive strategic plan process to define the elementary and middle model of instructional strategy and support systems. An outside consultant with expertise in developing and implementing dual immersion programs will guide the group in their work to a comprehensive plan. And Superintendent and myself have been engaged in interviewing possible consultants to guide work should this be approved. Do you have any? Yes, we. Do you have?
I think all the hard work is done that you heard at the last meeting, and you got to hear what Linwood was doing and it shared as well. I think now we're ready to move on, but we want to do it comprehensive way that has something in writing that will continue to guide the district who is sitting in these chairs, all of ours. So it's a really important thing. But we give you two great people, and we have Aaron has recommended a third, which is great, and then we'll be making it.
Okay, questions about dual immersion, single strand? We have Trustee Aguila.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a motion that we approve the development of dual immersion comprehensive, redefine the Linwood program, and develop a dual immersion middle school strand at San Jose Middle School.
Okay, a second from Jacobson. And with the first and a second, it would be to recognize additional comment. So, Stephanie.
Yeah, I do have a comment. I did go to San Jose and I did go to Linwood. And my comment is, I don't really know how this really works, or like I wasn't here last meeting, but I do have a recommendation that some of the teachers in San Jose take some Spanish lessons or just some Spanish classes, because when I was there and we had newcomers, the times teachers depended on other students to translate for the newcomers, and that's constantly happening in the high schools as well. I don't mind like helping out, and like at my current school, I help out with like nothing in return, and I totally like. I think it is important for our teachers to start taking classes or start learning basic words in Spanish, kind of help and make the newcomers feel more welcome. When they come inside a classroom and they don't understand anything, it's probably a horrible feeling. Well, not probably, I know it's a horrible. I've spoken to a lot of those kids and I'm friends with a lot of them, and for them it was really hard for them coming somewhere new and knew how to speak to them, unless like people that would also. So yeah, that's just like my little recommendation for teachers to start taking some Spanish.
That's good advice, Stephanie. And so one of the reasons we want to get the comprehensive plan done by January is we want to interviewing and seeing people that would have a B-clad credential, which means that they're proficient in Spanish. So and your idea of people proficient is a good one as well. We'll require teach this.
Teachers.
Yeah, I know. We want that as well. Yeah. Great.
Yeah. Question. Would that be part of the, with some of those teachers that take Spanish class, part of whether they take the Spanish class on their own, just for their own development, would that be could that be used as part of a professional for the Spanish teachers?
It could be used for quite a lot of things, but if they're taking it through an accredited university, which we have a lot of that going on, they could earn units towards increasing their salaries. Because each October 1st, teachers in classes submit those units, and then they get a salary increase. Mm-hmm.
Okay. We are going to hear from Trustee Gasson.
Thank you. So I have a couple of questions. The first had to do, it says the funding is determined after the comprehensive plan is completed, but there is a reference to consultant. So I was curious, is that how it's being funded?
Yeah, we have categorical fund the consultant to do that versus having Linwood or San Jose have the burden of those costs.
Okay. Just seemed like a little disconnect because clearly they're needing to do the comprehensive plan, and I understand the comprehensive plan will be funded as.
Yeah, we don't know everyone's charges yet. I mean, or everybody's proposal of the people that we've interviewed, so we don't know what the dollar amount is.
Okay,
But
so that would be later.
The burden district, not the sites.
Okay. And then just in general, I want this to be successful. I actually would have loved having the opportunity for my, I think it's a definite benefit to our community and to our school district. One of the things that I have found just in a few years I've been sitting here is, making sure that expectations, like we're on the same page. And so one of the things I would be looking at plan is done is not just the curriculum or the capacity, what's being presented, but what are the what are the things that we are going to be looking at in terms of enrollment? What are the numbers? If they go below a certain number, then what are the things that we're going to do to change that? The timeline on that. Things I put down. Testing is another area. Obviously, what are the that we're looking for, just so that we're all on the same page. I think somebody said earlier, we'll be changing our board, 2 other coming on, just so that, looking back again, thank you for the recordings that we have, was said, but we have a document that we can go to and say, this is kind of how we want this to be set, and this is what we've all agreed to, and how we're successful.
So kind of translating that into, my curiosity is like, what would the boards during this comprehensive plan, or we would obviously are going to have this plan brought back, and we'll that plan. So I'm not sure if that is that kind of then would they enough time to review the plan before it even comes in front of the board for approval. So that would be a good time to have some input, and the things that you are bringing up, I think, make sense. But
I feel like the stuff that was more curriculum based and what the program would look like, I'm saying that's great, but that for me to be successful, what are we doing to make sure we continue it? Like if we've only got the 5th grade goes to 6th grade, hopefully not, they'll find a lot of benefit, but if we've only got 10 kids going into 7th grade, how can I address that? Like what are the things that we're going to give it another year, or because what I don't want to happen is for us to make a promise and then say, I'm sorry, there are 10 kids, we can't fund this program, because then that's and not having said that in advance, I just don't think that the community and their investment in time and energy and everything, just saying, okay, whatever that is, I don't know what it is, again, run a program with 10 kids in it, but the way looking at this is that it's more than just run the program. What are we going to do to make sure that it can continue on and grow and is successful, and not all of a sudden say we just can't do this. So.
All right, so then I've got confidence in the board's input will come forward, and we'll work with, but those are good points. So I'm ready to call the question on the issue of moving ahead. Plan for that, and then when we read the plan or see the plan, that's when we really need to engage sustainability, I guess, issue and other funding and other aspects. So I'm going to call a vote, and then you guys can go anytime you want after, before anytime you guys want to go. All right, so all those in favor? We have 6 in favor, 2 affirmative advisory votes, and 1 absent. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. Look forward to that plan. Now we're going to do item 14C, approval of resolution number 5, 2022-23 year. This is adopting and approving Powers Authority Agreement and joining the Government Financial Services Joint Powers Authority. That's all.
It's a mouthful.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I think you all know who Lori Renee is. She's the one with the dog. And she has helped our district quite a bit in the short time using her. She's helped us with our bond sales. She's with our Blue Ribbon Committee. She's helped started discussing asset management, which are now going a little bit different, but I think she'll still be an asset there. Behind the scenes, she helps us with compliance reporting for our bond and all the things that we need to do as a district with long like that. So she had a long career, and she, being the person, looks to the future and tries to figure out how her company can continue to practice in the way it does, which is a way. It is a way that benefits schools quite a bit in a way different than financial firms. And she knows that in the near or not so near future, she will retire. And so in order to be able to keep government financial services running the way that she has decided it should, she went through the process of forming a joint agency. She found several districts that long-term relationships with, and they were the founding of the JPA. They put together their and have asked us to join the JPA, and we will be able to receive the same services. It'll just be in a little bit format, and it means that when Lori decides to make the next step in her life, the same organization and hopefully the same, attitude towards districts and their financials will remain the same and not be geared towards profit, but towards what's best for school districts. I'm asking you tonight to approve our membership. It's a $5,000 fee, but that is meant to be of commitment. It will go towards any services that use the JPA. And Lori will continue to be the main, and her staff will continue to be the ones providing the services in the near future.
Steve Miller.
So the question is, how do we get out of it if we want this decision, if we think a year from now it's not the right model? Is it annual?
I believe so. I can verify that. Well, that won't help if you're voting for it tonight. Yes, I will say it's a $5,000 a year fee, and if we don't pay the fee, we're not a member.
I will move item C. What's? Yeah.
You would go through the formal, but it's not that they hold you to it.
I mean, I guess we need an answer from you. I mean, I think it's a good idea, but we just got to know that has our general counsel looked at this contract?
No. Yes, MCOE is a.
So their general counsel's looked at it? I mean, signing contracts makes.
Well, we don't generally run our contracts by general counsel. I mean, we do them, and if there's something unique about it or a high cost, the general counsel would look at it. But
it does say terminated by described in the bylaws, so there is out.
Okay, if there's an out, then.
And Kate is invited.
I mean, I just watched friends who own cryptocurrency basically getting cleaned out in the last week.
Can I?
So I'm a little.
But Kate has invited the whole county to join, and so
okay.
That's out after we were already doing this. So.
Okay.
Can I just say, I think this sort of reads like, so it's because the phrasing in here talks about when two or more public, it's almost like the organization documents, not necessarily.
It's a joint policy. We're a member with this group of other school districts, so yes, it's different than dealing with a corporation.
Right, but what I was saying was some of the termination clauses has to do with the agreement of the joint powers of authority, not specific to us pulling out.
Oh, of dissolve the joint powers.
Right, so the attachment to it we're not signing that. We're doing this resolution saying we want to be a part of that. So when you read that paragraph, it's not applicable to our terms of getting out of it. It's the
dissolution of the.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Approving a whereas resolution directing you to get a membership.
Correct.
I'll move item C for approval of resolution 5, 2022, 223 adoption and approval of hours agreement. Lori's been amazing, the amount of money she's saved our community. Kate Lane says this is the right place to be. But I don't know more than those two women put together. So.
Okay, I need a second. Okay, Trustee Gaston, thank you. So all those, I have a first by Trustee Miller, seconded by Trustee Gaston. All those in favor, 6 in favor, 2 advisory in favor, and 1 abstain. Thank you, and I think we'll be benefiting from this. All right, it is time to on to item D. This is a board member discussion of officers. As you know, when we come to the close of a calendar year, we have to open a conversation around who's going to be the next vice president. It's incumbent upon us in planning and to bring this up, and this is aware of it, and see if there's would like to discuss that at this time. We will be making the change at our, I'm going to get the date wrong, December 13th meeting. And I encourage to think about whether you're interested in serving or who you would support in the positions of leadership and agenda planning, etc. So any comments or questions this evening?
I'd love to be extra.
for the hour that
Boss wants
before
food.
you get. And then I also, go ahead, Trustee.
Well, first, respect Trustee Nell, Trustee Aguilar. You boys have served, Marie, 3 terms? 12 years. And Derek, 18 years. So, it's a long time. You imagined, I'm sure. But anyhow, with respect to the hard work, then Debbie has been serving as vice ably for the last year, and it seems it would be appropriate for her to step forward to president if she would volunteer. So I'm going to ask her publicly if she would commit her time and her service to the district by serving as president.
Yes, of course.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
That was, okay, good. That's the purpose of the and so it looks like the question has been asked and answered. We'll be taking action. I did also want to mention that Trustee Mack is in here, so it would make this conversation a little bit more ineffective, because I think all trustees ought to be present when we discuss it in more detail. So I'll look forward to this subject coming up again. All right, any more questions or comments? Then,
Who's vice?
So
chair?
you're recommending that we just move this to December 6th? I have to, if that's what I'd have to agree. It would be better if Trustee Mack was here to be able to weigh in.
So I do have one I'd like to raise. Magali is in the audience. She will be serving beginning next year. And we historically have taken new trustees and thrown them into the CSBA milieu. And I heard earlier now that you're stepping away from some of the titles, but you're just going to keep doing the work, which I thought was marvelous. But I don't know where we stand relative. I mean, I'm a little confused about who's currently serving in the CSBA role and who's here and who's not, and so maybe that's a conversation that
You mean the Marin County School Boards Association?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
The representative?
Yeah, right, the Marin County
we'll
School Board
determine,
Association.
Right now, it's Julie. Yeah, Trustee Gaston. Before it was Greg, that's why I was questioning.
Yeah.
So, no, before that it was Greg. No. So usually on the night when we change, sorry, Derek.
No, this is great. Go ahead.
Usually on the night when we move forward with the new leadership, we decide who that is. We and who the representative is, and so we would ask. I mean, I asked Julie if she wants to continue on. Sometimes, as the new trustees come on, we like we did with Julie, we and that gave them the opportunity to work in that role as Marin County School.
Okay, and that's my memory is we sometimes did and sometimes didn't, and depends upon a whole bunch of things that I don't.
I think what we have to revisit our committee assignments.
Okay.
We didn't do that, and we had it in August, and we off until our
That's
two.
right, yeah.
So we'll revisit it most likely in January. That's our next, after December 13th, is in January, so we would have to do it, a reapproval assignments.
Yeah, okay.
And we're gonna start meeting with Abby and Magali just to get them on them. So we'll also mention about committee assignments with their availability.
Yeah, and I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, so I'm just, but
No.
that's a topic for in the next 30 or 60 days or so.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for the
So I think holding
memory.
off on this for one more meeting of everybody here is fitting.
Fitting, yeah.
Yeah, fitting for Greg to be here.
And I'm glad you brought up the committee, because that was something that I think that people ought to be trying to find out whether the committee they're on, or if they'd like to do something.
Because your committees you were on that were available to you may not be available, might not fit for Abby or Magali. So
That's
and timing and when they take place.
And it's a full board decision who serves on those committees. You don't just get to pick, and it has to be selected. So, all right. So then we're going to go ahead and not take any action. It's a discussion only concept on the coming electing of board leadership. Okay, I'm going to move on to item 13, which is the new 14, because we rearranged our agenda earlier to have this subject matter come up later in the meeting so that members of the San Marin could attend, and they probably didn't expect it to go as long, but unfortunately it took this. So we're going to go ahead and take a staff report on Marin High School lights and the public address system. We do have a North District Director with us this evening, so you can feel free to ask questions. Water, I guess.
Yes, he assured us the water, and we are all good for the night. Good evening, and Superintendent Derby. Thank you so much for having us tonight. Very excited to not be up here on my own tonight, but I actually have my community partner and friend, Mike Jones, and I also have two of our committee members, part of the coalition, Paul, and we're here at the end to answer any questions. Presentation. And yes, Mike was very gracious at our district board meeting this evening a little early to make here for this. So thank you for. All right. So as you all know, there is a long process we have engaged in throughout our last few years with the Coalition to Save San Marin. And what we wanted to do tonight is one aspects of the agreement and the AR was that we continue to work and present to the board on a regular basis where we are, how it's going, what are our current what are things that are still challenges, and what are any next steps that we're working on as a collaborative. And so that's why we're there tonight, so that we can kind of talk to this as a partnership, and you guys can have the information answered from both perspectives here tonight. So as I mentioned, our agreements really on the stadium lights at the San Marin High School football field. That was the focus of the original process. Through that, however, there was a lot of discussion around the field use and the public address systems. there's a couple of key dates that really stand out. The first was June 22nd, 2021, when NUSD and the Coalition to Save San Marin entered into the original settlement agreement, which is a 25-year settlement agreement. And then not too long after that, on August of 2021, the school board, adopted the administrative regulations specific to the lights and the public address system. With that, we were able to start using the facilities to its full capacity, meaning using the lights in the evening, using the new PA systems. But also we started joining into this collaborative where we have regular and ongoing dialogue. And so that's what leads us to our current successes. I think our greatest success at this point is really the collaborative nature of our relationship. So we've been very fortunate. We meet very regularly. We are here to represent tonight, but really this is a much larger community that we're here speaking on behalf of. On the Monday after every home football game, and then not during football season, monthly, we actually meet with the Coalition to Save San Marin, this group here in the room. We also meet with our athletic director, our classified staff that are responsible for organizing all athletic events. We have student athletes from the current seasons that are active. We have our assistant principal that is overseeing athletics. We have our North Bay security representation. We have Novato Police Department representation, and we're excited to have a board member who will begin joining us so that we can all be on the same page. What do we do in those meetings? We go over what's working, what were highlights, what we need to work on moving forward, and any other items for discussion. Typically, it's our planning meeting. We have those planning meetings anyways. It's just nice that we have some community members at the table with us each week to ensure that we have input from our neighbors. I think those are all listed there. And then I think some of the other highlights that came up was specific to our direct contact. We are constantly in communication when anything is going on. One of the things that we talk a lot about is there's a lot of field usage, and this will come up in our concerns, that is not being rented on Facilitron, meaning outside groups that are formally using our facilities but are not actually renting the space and therefore aren't scheduled to be there. So we constantly are having conflicts with groups who have rented versus groups who are coming to try and use the fields. And so that's another area where we've a good communication strand between us and our community neighbors. All right, current challenges. Anything else that we want to talk about successes?
No.
Okay, great. All right, our current challenges. I will tell you that the majority of what we have been talking about is actually the baseball field. As a part of this process, one of the PA agreements was that we would not be using portable PA systems. The reason for not allowing the PA systems is during the environmental impact review, it talks about the PA systems don't portables, they don't face down towards the crowd. They are generalized and move up. And so all of the PA systems that were installed in the stadium when that was done are all the current, similar to the lights, most upgraded. The baseball fields don't have a PA system. And so the only way to have a PA system there is to drag out one of our portable ones, and they are very intrusive. And so that is one of the concerns that we continue to work on. With that, and part of the reason why it, I think, is more noticeable is because we now have the turf baseball field in addition to the softball field, which just means there's a lot more playing days. We've talked a lot, our baseball coach often joins us, that there was many years before it was turf when we couldn't use the field during the winter months or when the weather wasn't good. So they were renting space other places, and we absolutely want our teams playing our own fields, but we also want to make sure that they have the tools that they need to make that playing time effective. And so part of that is looking at our PA system in alignment with our regulations. The other is just remembering, and we are always going back to that original EIR and CEQA baseline around when we have other projects, when we make other changes, is that changing the cumulative impact on the neighborhood. And so having that kind of baseline reading in the back of our minds, should we ever embark on any other projects moving forward. And then the most recent one, which I will talk about in our next steps, which is there are multiple interpretations of the ARs at our table. And so there are times when we're all reading the same document, but there's different ways of interpreting what it is. And so one of our goals between now and next season is I will be coming back to you to propose some language. So I'll start with proposed language. I'll bring it to the team. We'll go back and forth. And when we believe it's ready for the board to revisit, we'll be bringing back some, I think, very simple but important changes, just so that we can clean up the language in the AR to make it very crystal clear so that there's no confusion. There's a section that talks specifically about the softball fields. We're not quite sure that's why it's there. And if it's there, should we move the other sporting fields? You know, there's little things that I think are going to make it a lot easier for us all to read and agree on. All right, and then we've got future considerations. These are all the things that just the next steps and what we're looking at into the future. Again, the PA systems. We talked about the baseline for CEQA. And then I think this is the overarching, which is we have become an incredibly desirable place to have athletic competitions. And with that, we are thrilled and we are so honored to have that availability, but we also have to be mindful of, are we ensuring that we can manage and maintain the fields in a way that we are not destroying them before we are ready to use them for our own teams. And so the continued impact and ensuring that, and I think the way that the coalition would describe it is, are we ensuring that we're not becoming a city sports conflict, that we actually have our teams and our other schools available at the same level as San Marin? So it's a wonderful problem to have, but it's also something we want to be aware of. We want to make sure that the people who are there are renting the facility through Facilitron, that they have paid the rent, that they have insurance. That's the thing that I worry about as the principal. And also that when our teams get there to practice, there's not another big group already there that puts us, our coaches, in a tough position to have to kick out a group of adults often. And so we just want to make sure that we are tightening up our processes and systems around the rental of those facilities and having some limits on the capacity that we can actually manage. All right, and I think I've kind of mentioned all of our next steps. Again, we've added having a board member. Thank you to Derek. He came this Monday. It was my fault. We had an earlier meeting, but Derek and I got to check in after the fact. But we will have a board member at our meetings moving forward. We will check the user agreements to determine overuse. So again, this is another one. We'll look at how are all of the campuses used, making sure Facilitron is being used accurately, making sure that we're monitoring how it's being used. Making sure that when it's being used, we have janitors there and we have maintenance there to make sure that it's getting maintained after the fact. Talking about the PA system again, and then proposing new language for the AR, which will be minor revisions, but I think very critical, important ones. With that, Mike and I are happy to answer questions.
Okay, questions? I got Trustee Modrick.
A couple of simple questions and then a side point. The thing to do with the good work that's been done. Clearly, the bleachers, the people watching are sitting in significantly closer area than the neighbors, and it seems to me some technical solutions in there is because the homeowners and the are both pretty physically separate. Forward to finding some appropriate solution to that. It seems possible. The other topic to this board before and in this town before is the need for athletic facilities across the community is under. My wife was in the open space district decades ago, and they got McGinnis Fields built and approved. That play used to occur on Novato High School, the Babe Ruth leagues and all those played here in Nevada. There wasn't another choice now that relieves some of the pressure, but not enough. We've got the field out at Indian Valley College. That's relieved some. We got a field that the city's built at Hill, but it's still not enough. And we're talking about the last conversation we had where the Rancho, the Arroyo Fields by Rancho School and the Hammond, I think it's by Olive School, and the role the school district should play in making those fields available to the community and maybe beyond that. It seems to me the conversation of a joint powers or facilities organization, a legal organization, not the school district, not the city, but a district structure that is legally formed and could manage these. And so the cost of running the fields that are not on school grounds does dig into or impact the money we have to pay teachers or maintain our own field. That's kind of out of the scope of this, but I think the issues you've raised that bigger question of is there a bigger solution that we as the school district ought to be helping the community think about. And so I don't have an answer to the question, but it seems to me that's a good question for all of us to talk to our constituencies about. Yeah, so.
It's an honor to be back before the board. Jen and I are here because of your AR 7325 you passed in of 21, and that mandates that we come and make a presentation, which is what we're happy to do. And we prepared this, and it's it's good. And I think Ross has brought up a good point, which is the city beginning to open up and explore about better use of the facilities for the city, that the city could provide, because the school has put together a good package and it's wonderful facilities at both Novato High School and San Marin High School, because of Measure J and because of the diligence of this board. You've done your fair share, and you continue to do it. See.
More questions, Trustee Butler?
This is a nice report. Thank you for doing this, putting this together. It sounds like there's cooperation between both entities, and I really appreciate that. We kind of heard that going along, but to hear you present it and really say it again is really nice to hear. And I'll just put another plug in for a facilities coordinator. I think we need to go back to that. We said Facilitron is going to take it, but it is just, it's a lot of work to make sure the people who rent the fields are getting the use of the field, and the people that have not paid need to go. I understand. If you're an organized group, you need to pay to be on our fields. You can't just spend so. I think that would be helpful. I know it costs to us, and we've cut that position, but I think it's well worth looking at it again. Have you done any work on the PA system? Have anything? Did I miss that part of your presentation?
No, there was
it out or whatever.
I believe there was work done on that spring, but it's something we've brought back, and so I know that facilities teams is well aware of it, and something we're talking about in our next steps.
Okay.
I think Tony, Mike transitioned from Mike had told us that he was going to put the PA face on, just like what Ross said, because the new bleachers in the baseball field right there at the base of the backstop. And so, but I guess we ran out of money on that issue. So I'll be Lois's group. We'll come up with a solution that we all can.
No, because the baseball will corner, it's going to start. So, okay, thank you.
Gila?
So I just wanted to, this is such a beautiful site. Last time not Thursday, but before that, last time I saw you here was in your bedroom with your window open, and you showed me the light on the football field. And so a lot of us, we did our due diligence and we went to the neighbors' home, and I just remember the sight in your window, and my heart just fell, and what I said. But here you are, and well, thank you for getting out early today from your board, and thank you for, by the way. So I just want to say this is a great example of, I think, NUSD. I mean, we're setting a good example right here. I think it took energy, and you both had the students. We all did. Had this both sides. We had the students in mind as number one, and so just what again. This is just thank you so much for here. You guys are working and making it a bad scenario into a win-win for everybody. And I wanted to ask you about, I wanted to thank you for acknowledging what still needs to be and some of the issues that we need to look at and we need to work, and remind all of us that we all need to be good neighbors. And you, I mean, we are in USD and San Marin neighborhood, just a great example of that it can be done.
Well, the board's AR 7325 well written, thought about, and well done. The only little tweaking I think that has come to my team is about the playoffs for football. That is bad, and what great news, right? That we and hopefully this year again. So we'll come up with a solution that's pretty. Are there any other questions?
I'm going to ask. Yes, we do, from one of our universities.
I thought this was such a cool way to kind of report information about the school. It makes me wish there was like a Dave Novato kind of thing. It's like, I thought it was... but I thought this was a stable report about like your own facilities, and I don't know, great information. I wish ours, ironic that ours, like the one time he's not here, can't weigh in on this, but thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. That's healthy.
No, I totally agree with. When I went to Novato, I was really sad that we didn't have lights. I'm really happy for San Marin and that they have lights now.
So when I left at 7:15, blazing, and it was great to see. The reason I asked President Nell if there were any other questions was, I know it's been an extraordinary length of time today, but I wonder if I could take just a minute of the board's indulgence to say something from a citizen, nothing to do with CSSF. So over the last 6 years, it's been a citizen's journey to meet some extraordinary people in your district. Some of them sitting right, and of course, your incredible superintendent, and her two assistant superintendents, this visionary woman, and Lois, whom I've gotten to know very well, their staffs, like Lois's Tony Albini, and group like Leslie, I've worked pretty closely. An extraordinary group of servants and people, staff is really quite exemplary here. And about this incredible lady, her is amazing. And I just want to give a shout out, be quiet, to her staff like Shauna Torres, who's the principal, who's been great. Tyler Peterson, who is your new athletic director and doing a job in and in playoffs, because we're pretty actively. So under Tyler is fabulous coaches who have given like 14 years of unremitting service, and Jamie Vitoni, and though I've worked with them pretty closely, wonderful members of your staff, and that's about all I wanted to say. So thank you all.
Okay, so bring it back to the board. We recommendation to you support, it's a report, but I was just, after hearing the report, if there's anything you emphasize or give direction on in addition to just hearing what was said. Trustee Guess.
I would just follow up on what Trustee Butler said. I had sent questions about, what's involved to do the PA system and what suggestions. So I feel you did, for me, you satisfied all, the things that you're going to be following up with. So that's what I would be expecting, is just the outcome of that. And thank you for being here tonight. And actually, you guys back there, thank you.
Good to be here. It's good to work together with the team. Mutual benefit.
Yeah. Again, I think that when we have these things in mind, vision and students, I think that this is what makes it possible for two different opinions to come. So thank you. And by the way, my dad has not done his will.
Oh.
He knows what I'm talking about.
Okay.
He hasn't.
All right. Thank those who came before me, because I got to walk into a really wonderful group and a wonderful class. I appreciate the partnership, but also the history. I get a lot. All right. Thank
Mark
you.
Sims and Chris Koska, two good servants, two good people. Thank you all very much.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it, and happy holidays to you. If there are no more questions, we are adjourned at 9:04.